year, I respectfully request, Mr. Speaker, that the entire mid-year fiscal policy review of the 2021 budget is captured in the Hansard. Mr. Speaker, in December 2020, the people of Ghana renewed their confidence in the President for another 4-year term. Thank His Excellency the President for the confidence he retains in the team of the Ministry of Finance and for the privilege and opportunity to continue in this national service of managing the economy and our public finances for another 4 years. I also, Mr. Speaker, wish to extend my deepest gratitude to Honorable Osei Mensah-Bonsu for the outstanding delivery of the 2021 budget statement and economic policy of government in March, and even buying a bag like mine. Thank you. Mr. Speaker, I want to personally thank you for your noble and wise leadership over this unique composition of this 8th Parliament, and to assure you that government will continue to work with you and this House to deliver on the priority needs of our people. Again, permit me to express my heartfelt gratitude to this august House for your patience and forbearance in postponing my vetting and subsequent approval, giving me time to recuperate. I recognize the historic nature of the second term, and as indicated in my vetting, I commit to ensuring the protection of the public purse and the transformation of the economy. Mr. Speaker, it is my hope that the spirit of partnership that guided our work with the previous Parliament will continue to define our collaboration over the second term for the collective good of the nation. Mr. Speaker, it's difficult to attempt to normalize the catastrophe that has befallen the world. The devastating impact of the COVID-19 pandemic on lives and the global economy is widely acknowledged. The grim statistics are that over 196 million people have been infected by the virus, 4.1 million dead, and over 15 trillion spent. In Ghana, we join, Mr. Speaker, sadly, in mourning with the 823 families who have lost loved ones and pray for the recovery of those afflicted. The COVID-19-induced global recession has been the deepest since the end of the World War II, that is 76 years ago. The global economy contracted by 3.3% in 2020, a 6.7% decline relative to the 3.4% growth forecast by the IMF back in October 2019. Growth in sub-Saharan Africa was minus 1.9%. Ghana achieved a 0.4% growth. From the very first day that the coronavirus arrived here in Ghana, in March 2020, the government of President Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo recognized the dire consequences that it will have on our economy, particularly on jobs, and on our ability to raise revenues to meet both the cost of managing the pandemic and government's regular spending obligations. If I may quote from the President's address on 27 March 2020, where he underlined the challenge and the approach. Should the virus continue to linger for the rest of the year, the effects on our economy will be dire. However, as we have demonstrated over the course of the last 3 years, where we inherited an economy that was growing at 3.4% and transformed it into one which has grown by an average of 7% over the last 3 years. I assure you that we know what to do to bring back our economy to life. What we do not know how to do is to bring back to life. We will therefore protect people's lives than their livelihoods. Mr. Speaker, therefore, the hardship that COVID-19 pandemic visited on people's lives, the stress on parents, the frustration of young people, the negative impact on businesses for both employers and employees, the worsening of the unemployment situation, the effect on the public debt, and the stress on revenue mobilization was unprecedented but expected. Indeed, no country in the world had prepared for the crisis that unfolded. That is why leadership was therefore assessed by the measures that individual countries and their respective leaders took to deal with the crisis. Here in Ghana, we took responsible, innovative, decisive, and bold actions to tackle the crisis. That is why a year ago on Thursday, 23rd July 2020, I came before this House to present what I called an extraordinary mid-year fiscal policy review of the 2020 budget statement and economic policy, and secured more funds to provide an immediate and appropriate response to the severe economic impact of the pandemic. In addition, the 2021 expenditure in advance of appropriation presented to this House on 28 October 2020 saw to the uninterrupted delivery of government business in the first quarter of this year and the ongoing implementation of the 2021 budget and economic policy of Friday, 12 March, is driving and the revitalization of the economy in line with our theme of completion, consolidation, and continuity. With these approvals, we intervened with timely measures to help, particularly households, schools, hospitals, and businesses, withstand the impact of the pandemic. Government provided direct transfers to households through food distribution and absorption of water and electricity bills, tax waivers to frontline health workers, and stimulus packages to small and medium-scale enterprises were also provided. Mr. Speaker, these interventions stabilized the situation, protected lives, supported businesses, and preserved jobs, which would otherwise have been lost. In fact, although the workload from the public sector had to be reduced in many cases, all through the COVID crisis, government has never once embarked on any program of laying off workers. Rather, we have continued to pay all workers and even proceeded to employ more in some critical areas such as security and health services. Mr. Speaker, let me use this opportunity to thank organized labor and employers for their role in concluding wage negotiations with government in May. The negotiations were marked by a shared understanding of the state of the economy, that we as a nation cannot share what we do not have, a collective will to improve productivity, raise more revenue, and ensure decent wages in the years to come. Mr. Speaker, as a result of our competent management of the crisis situation, Ghana's economy has outperformed its peers, recovering faster. After recording negative growth in the second and third quarters of 2020, the economy rebounded strongly in the last quarter of the year, continuing well into the first quarter of 2021. The Ghana Statistical Service reports the overall GDP growth for first quarter 2021 was 3.1%. The growth was even better, excluding oil, at 4.6%. The Bank of Ghana Composite Index of Economic Activity attests to the strong growth recovery, with the index growing at 33.1% at the end of May 2021, compared to a contraction of 10.23% at the end of May 2020. Mr. Speaker, on inflation, we are witnessing one of the lowest numbers on record in about 2 years. Inflation, which at the height of the pandemic hovered around 11.8%, dropped to 7.5% in May 2021, before inching up slightly to 7.8% in June. The Bank of Ghana will continue to implement appropriate monetary policy to maintain inflation rate within the target of 8 plus or minus 2%. The cedi has been relatively stable in the past 4 years and maintained its stability even in this pandemic year. For the first time in the Fourth Republic, the exchange rate did not see a spike after an election year. Cumulatively, from the beginning of the year to date, the exchange rate has depreciated by 0.6% against the US dollar and appreciating by 3.6% against the euro. This stability is expected to continue as we move towards the close of the year. The relatively strong performance of the external sector led to an increase in the reserves position to $11 billion US dollars, equivalent to 5 months of imports, one of the highest on record. This compares well with a reserve position of $9.2 billion, equivalent to 4.3 months imports cover in the corresponding period last year. Mr. Speaker, we are managing the finances of the country with discipline and competence. The fiscal operations for the period January to June 2021 indicate that the overall deficit was 22.32 billion Ghana cedis, equivalent to 5.1% of GDP. The corresponding primary balance for the period was a deficit of 7.3 billion cedis, equivalent to 1.7% of GDP, against a target of 4.8 billion Ghana cedis, or 1.1% of GDP. We will continue to pursue our fiscal consolidation agenda to ensure that we remain within the appropriation given by this august House. Mr. Speaker, I would like to note that notwithstanding our elevated debt levels as a result of COVID-19, our inflation rate is lower than it was in 2016. Our interest rates are lower than they were in 2016. Our exchange rate is more stable than it was in 2016. Our foreign exchange reserves are much higher than they were in 2016. And we did not have to lay off any workers, nor cancel teacher and nursing training allowances. Furthermore, we did not go to the IMF for a bailout program, neither have we built an interchange for the price of 3. This is because we have managed the economy much better than it was managed up to 2016. Let us, Mr. Speaker, not forget this. On the back of these and other deliberate policies, our country has attracted more foreign direct investment in the midst of the pandemic. As of end June 2021, total FDI into the country was valued at $954.2 million, indicating an increase of 71.2% from US $557.2 million recorded over the same period last year. Mr. Speaker, the strong rebound in growth, the low inflation rates, the stable currency, the strong reserve position, and FDI flows are clear indicators of an economy in recovery. Indeed, the strategic investments we collectively made in building strong economic fundamentals in the 3 years prior to this pandemic, as well as the subsequent speed, scope, and scale of our socio-economic response to the pandemic, is fueling our recovery. Mr. Speaker, I stand before this august House today to assure the nation that our transformation agenda is very much on course. However, with COVID-19 still with us, it is important to stress that the recovery is only the beginning, a beginning that requires our collective sense of responsibility and action as citizens to guide, protect, and participate in the recovery efforts. Mr. Speaker, this mid-year fiscal policy review that I'm presenting does not come with a supplementary budget, and our revised fiscal framework for 2021 is kept within the fiscal target of 9.5% of GDP. We are staying within the 2021 appropriation. Respectful Mr. Speaker, let me repeat. I'm not here today to ask for more money. I have not come. Mr. Speaker, I'm not here today to ask for more money. I have not come to ask for more taxes. I have come to update the House on the performance of the economy for the first half year of 2021 and our plans for the unexpired term of the year consistent with Section 28 of the PFM Act. One of the serious impacts, Mr. Speaker, of the COVID-19 pandemic has been the loss of jobs, which has exacerbated the unemployment problem, particularly among the youth. As such, government is ready with a comprehensive program to tackle this intractable problem. The goal is to create employment opportunities for 1 million of our young people over the next 2.5 years by igniting, Mr. Speaker, a high spirit of entrepreneurship. We will count on the support of this august House for this. Our focus on taxes is to collect what is due the Republic. To this end, we are building a robust framework to expand domestic revenue mobilization to focus on compliance and enforcement nationwide. We have established, Mr. Speaker, the Revenue Assurance and Compliance Enforcement, RACE, R-A-C-E. The remit of RACE, Mr. Speaker, is to identify and eliminate revenue leakages in areas such as petroleum bunkering, gold and minerals exports, port operations, transit goods, warehousing, border controls, and free zones operations, to name but a few. Mr. Speaker, I will now present an assessment of the programs we have and continue to implement in line with our strategy for completion, consolidation, and continuity, which is the theme for the 2021 budget and economic policy. These programs address the concerns of our fellow Ghanaians, especially our youth, and demonstrate our commitment to create sustainable and inclusive opportunities for all. Mr. Speaker, in fulfillment of our completion pledge, we have completed a number of projects and activities, including but not limited to the 4-tier interchange at Pokwase, the first of its kind in West Africa, to ease, and second in Africa, to ease travel constraints and enhance our productivity. The 85-bed Central Kunja District Hospital, located in Boape, to improve access to quality health care. Key strategic factories to provide jobs and accelerate our industrialization agenda, including the new factory of Premium Foods Limited at Ejusu in the Ashanti region, one of the leading agribusiness in Ghana. Nano Foods Limited, pineapple juice processing factory at Nsewem. Phase 1 of B5 steel plant in La Plega in Ningo Pram, which when fully completed will become the biggest steel factory in West Africa. Toyota Tushu vehicle assembly plant in Tema, successfully securing the removal of Ghana from the Financial Action Task Force grades list, which has enhanced access to global markets and finance for our businesses, and the signing of seven implementation compacts under the Ghana Cares Obatampa program. Mr. Speaker, towards consolidating the gains made, we have, among others, pursued prudent macro-fiscal policies that puts us back on track to restore economic stability and growth, fostered a resilient financial ecosystem under Ghana Cares by establishing the building blocks for stronger and catalytic collaboration between institutions such as the Ghana Incentive-Based and Risk-Sharing Scheme for Agricultural Lending, GERSAL, Ghana Commodity Exchange, GCS, Venture Capital Trust Fund, and the Restructured Ghana Enterprises Agency, formerly MBSSI, to anchor a new age of entrepreneurship, job creation, and wealth building for our post-COVID transformation. We issued a historic foreign currency denominated zero-coupon bond in our financing mix that's creating the fiscal space to build our financial resilience, and revamped the energy sector to further stabilize electricity supply for households and businesses. Mr. Speaker, our pledge on continuity has also driven us to continue to implement the phase 2 of the Ghana Cares Obatampa program to revitalize our economy after a successful execution of the stabilization measures in phase 1. Continue to implement our key flagship programs, including Free SHS, PFJ, 1D, 1F, among others, to enhance the quality of life of our people and further advance our transformation agenda. Continued our environmental agenda by embarking on a war against illegal mining, Galamsey, to preserve our water bodies and protect the environment. And continue government's historic partnership with labor and employers, and also with the faith-based organizations. Mr. Speaker, in addition to the above, we've continued to provide the needed resources, equipment, and personnel to maintain security and peace within our borders. We are on course, Mr. Speaker, to transform the security services to enable them to adequately respond to emerging national and sub-regional threats. Mr. Speaker, we are aware of various conversations and we will take appropriate measures at the right time, and we beg this House to support us in that bid. In line with government's agenda to enhance our global stature, Ghana placed a bid and was elected as a non-permanent member of the United Nations Security Council for the 2022-2023 term. Additionally, His Excellency the President was also elected unanimously for a second term as chairman of the Authority of Heads of State and Government of the Economic Community of West Africa States, ECOWAS. President Akufo-Addo remains co-chair of the United Nations and Sustainable Development Goals Advocate Group with Norway's Prime Minister, Erna Solberg. He is also the AU champion for both financial institutions and gender affairs. As a result of the increased international visibility and exemplary leadership of the President during this pandemic, government has been able to procure and administer 1,271,393 doses of COVID-19 vaccines, while 865,422 people have received the first dose, 405,971 have been fully vaccinated with the second dose at the end of June this year. Mr. Speaker, our diplomatic efforts are yielding results, and we are expecting to receive through the COVAX facility 1.2 million Pfizer vaccines from the United States of America, 249,600 AstraZeneca vaccines from the United Kingdom. In addition, government has committed itself to purchase through the African Medicine Supply Platform 17 million Johnson & Johnson single-dose vaccines. Furthermore, the President has set up a committee dedicated to facilitating our domestic capacity to manufacture COVID-19 vaccines, beginning with the process of fill and finish. Mr. Speaker, on the economic front, the additional policies and strategies outlined in the Ghana CD 100 billion Ghana Cares Over Tampa program will be vital in our journey towards economic recovery and transformation. Our strategy to place the private sector at the heart of this endeavor is to accelerate competitive import substitution and export expansion to generate sustainable jobs for our teeming youth under 35 years of age, who make up about 71% of our population. Mr. Speaker, the unemployment situation in our country has been exacerbated by the COVID-19 pandemic. This is a situation which we'll confront aggressively. Indeed, it is an issue that will be at the forefront of our national discourse. The future of our young people and their livelihoods are of utmost importance to us as a nation. It requires urgent action, and the President has directed that we consolidate and implement new programs and projects to address it. It is crucial to our destiny. Mr. Speaker, over the course of this year, like many of my colleagues in government and in this House, I have traveled around the country, engaged with the people, especially young people. We have listened to them and heard their concerns. 8 weeks ago, Mr. Speaker, I visited Tamale and Sunyani and interacted with thousands of young people. Also visited Chebi and Triapiase, drawn from various universities and tertiary institutions as part of the Springboard Foundation program. I also participated in both the Accra Springboard and NUC's annual leadership training programs. These interventions, Mr. Speaker, provided me with yet another opportunity to experience at first hand the expectations and aspirations of our young people. Our responsibility as government is to accelerate our response. In connection with that, I have had extensive discussions with my colleague Ministers of Employment and Labor Relations, Youth and Sports, and Lands and Natural Resources. New programs will be introduced and existing ones scaled up and refocused to meet the aspirations of our youth. We will work together to sensitize and connect the youth to the numerous opportunities being made available by government, including a strategy to create jobs and business opportunities for 1 million Ghanaian youth by 2024. So far, we've developed 5 new programs, including an exciting U-Bank program. Mr. Speaker, The good people of Ghana have given us another 4-year mandate to manage the country, mitigate the impact of COVID-19, and pursue our transformation agenda of equal opportunities and prosperity for all. We are in the 7th month of the journey and executing the mandate with diligence, integrity, and faith, and we are determined to overcome the challenges that confront our nation. Let us join hands to build a more inclusive, confident, and hopeful society. COVID-19 has caused enough havoc, but we are resilient and confident people and should not allow ourselves to be defeated by the negatives. As 2 Timothy 1:7 tells us, that God has not given us a spirit of fear, but of power, of love, and a sound mind. We should have courage, Mr. Speaker, hope, and resolve to work hard and expect that the Almighty God, whom most of us believe and serve, will look kindly on us and bless the work of our hands. Mr. Speaker, I now proceed to give details of developments for the first half year of 2021, and will conclude with the outlook for the rest of the year. Mr. Speaker, since the presentation of the 2021 budget to this August House in March this year, global growth recovery has generally strengthened, supported by the ongoing mass vaccinations and the general relaxation of COVID-19 restrictions, as well as continued policy support. However, the emergence of new COVID-19 variants and potentially third waves in parts of the world, as well as disruptions of the vaccination efforts across emerging market and developing economies, is creating some uncertainty and threatening to undermine global recovery efforts. Economic recovery in most emerging markets and developing economies is expected to slow down, mainly due to continuous non-availability of vaccines. Mr. Speaker, to put the assessment of the performance of the economy for the first half of 2021 in perspective, permit me to restate the macroeconomic target set for 2021 as presented in the 2021 budget as follows. Overall real GDP growth of at least 5%, non-oil real GDP growth of at least 6.7%, end period inflation of 8.0%, fiscal deficit of 9.5% of GDP, primary deficit of 1.3% of GDP, and gross international reserve to cover not less than 4 months of imports of goods and services. Mr. Speaker, even though the second quarter 2021 gross domestic product data is yet to be released by the Ghana Statistical Service, provisional data for the first quarter 2021 show that the recovery process from the COVID-19 pandemic is gaining some momentum, and the targets for most of the macroeconomic indicators are largely on track. Thank you. Mr. Speaker, I now present highlights of the 2021 half-year fiscal performance. The implementation of the 2021 budget has been successful so far. We remain fully committed to achieving the fiscal deficit target of 9.5% of GDP for the year in order to not to derail from the objective of returning to the Fiscal Responsibility Act fiscal deficit and primary balance thresholds of 5% of GDP and positive primary balance, respectively, by 2024. Mr. Speaker, the provisional fiscal data for January to June 2021 show that total revenue and grants amounted to 28.3 billion Ghana cedis, equivalent to 6.5% of GDP, against a program target of 32.4 billion Ghana cedis, or 7.5% of GDP. For the same period, total expenditure, including the clearance of arrears, amounted to 50.6 billion, equivalent to 11.7% of GDP, against a program target of 55.1 billion, or 12.7% of GDP. Mr. Speaker, the fiscal deficit for the period was financed from both foreign and domestic sources. Net foreign financing of 15.2 billion Ghana cedis constituted 68.3% of the total financing and included inflows from Eurobond proceeds. On the other hand, total domestic financing amounted to Ghana cedis 7.1 billion, representing 31.7% of total financing. Public debt development. Mr. Speaker, The total public debt stock as a percentage of GDP increased from 76.1% at the end of December 2020 to 77.1% of GDP at the end of June 2021. This stock includes the financial and energy sector bailouts. Excluding the financial sector bailout, the nominal debt stock as a percentage of GDP is 72.9%. The increase in the debt stock was mainly because of the Eurobond issuance of April 2021, COVID-19 pandemic effect, contingent liabilities, and front-loading of financing to meet cash flow requirements for the first half of this year. Mr. Speaker, the loss of human capital as a result of COVID-19 continues to be devastating. The reported steady decline in weekly average infections, which stood at 379 by the week of 5th March 2021, was sustained to 60 cases by the week of 20th June 2021. Since then, however, the detection and spread of the Delta variant has largely driven up reported cases. As of 25th July 2021, overall COVID-19 infections since the first confirmed case on 12 March 2021 has reached 103,019. There are currently 4,983 active cases, 97,213 recoveries against all efforts. 823 persons have died due to COVID-19 over the same period. Mr. Speaker, improving regional and global supply chains and rising demands led to total exports reaching $2.5 billion in the first 2 months of 2021. By June, this has significantly increased to $7.6 billion. In addition, the COVID-19 related regulatory reliefs and policy measures introduced by the Bank of Ghana continue to promote bank lending activities. From the beginning of the year to June 2021, new advances reached $16 billion, marginally above the advances of $15.8 billion during the same period in 2020. It is expected that as economic activities rebound and lending rates drop further, private sector credit will pick up. Mr. Speaker, proactive and pragmatic policies have ensured that the tourism and hospitality industry, which had perhaps endured its most difficult year in 2020, is on a rebound. Tourist arrivals in the country as at the end of 2020 was about 370,000, as against a revised target of 400,000 for 2020. With the reopening of the Kotoka International Airport in September 2020, arrivals at the end of the second quarter of 2021 were 231,000, representing 65% of the full year arrivals in 2020. Mr. Speaker, there are also other positive trends for this pandemic, as digital technology is assuming a more significant role in the operations of businesses. Almost 9 out of 10 firms are now leveraging digital platforms to market their products. Similarly, mobile money, door-to-door delivery via courier services, and internet usage for business operations also increased by 77%. Mr. Speaker, since the onset of the COVID-19 pandemic, government has developed and implemented a number of interventions expressed in the National COVID-19 Emergency Preparedness and Response Plan and the National Strategic COVID-19 Response Plan, July 2020 to December 2024. Mr. Speaker, these plans and related interventions provided a comprehensive framework to mobilize and disburse funds which have proved vital to the success of the national containment and case management measures. Since Ghana recorded its first 2 cases on 12 March 2020, the Ghana Health Service has conducted 1,416,952 tests as of 25th July 2021, with a cumulative positivity rate of 7.3%. Mr. Speaker, Ghana implemented the COVID-19 vaccination campaign as part of the containment strategy and has developed the National Deployment and Vaccination Plan. It is planned that 20 million Ghanaians will be vaccinated in order to achieve herd immunity. Mr. Speaker, we have upgraded our national, regional, and district cold chain facilities to widen our access to vaccines like Pfizer and Moderna that require minus 70 degrees centigrade cold chains. These include 16 ultra-low cold freezers, 58 units of ultra-low freezers, 50 normal foreseen refrigerators, 300 boxes to be filled with ice packs, 300 ice pack freezers, 10 cold chain vans, and 120 temperature monitoring devices. Government has also committed to providing seed funding of $25 million towards the development of the country's capacity to produce vaccines domestically. This will be achieved through the establishment of a National Vaccine Institute. Mr. Speaker, the pandemic further strengthened our efforts to tackle discrimination and inequality against women, since the sectors hard hit by the crisis, like tourism, hospitality, and small-scale retailing, employ a large number of women. It is important to note that Ghana was one of the few countries in the world that devised a plan to ensure that the impact of the pandemic on MSMEs will be minimized. Through the Ghana Enterprise Agency, formerly National Board for Small Scale and Industries, a number of programs were implemented to minimize the impact of the pandemic and also to support in the realization of the government vision of diversity, inclusivity, and job creation. Under the Ghana cedi 600 million coronavirus alleviation program business support, a total of 520 million Ghana cedis had been disbursed to over 299,000 MSME beneficiaries between May 2020 and June 2021. For the 290,000 beneficiaries who benefited under the Coronavirus Program Business Support Scheme, CABAS, 60% of the beneficiaries were women-owned businesses or MSMEs. The intervention unlocked access to finance mainly to women who would not have been able to access funds to support and build their businesses. Technical support was also provided in the form of training in entrepreneurship and financial management to 15,748 beneficiaries across Ghana, over 67% being females. Over 740,000 jobs have been protected, and a database of 904,000 MSMEs has been created to inform policy going forward. Support was also given to specific sectors such as the creative arts, media, and the private education to enable them continue to offer key services in peak of the pandemic. As at the end of June 2021, a total of 52.3 million Ghana cedis has been disbursed to 29,698 beneficiaries within the creative arts industry. Additionally, 5,410 private schools, university, and association with the educational sector received a total of 41.2 million Ghana cedis. Mr. Speaker, to sustain the quality of life for Ghanaians during the pandemic, government subsidized the cost for various categories of household and industrial electricity consumption from April to December 2020. Altogether, 4,772,512 customers benefited from the electricity reliefs for the period. The policy, however, continued for lifetime customers from January to March 2021. Mr. Speaker, as part of government's social interventions for supply of free water under the COVID-19 initiative, the Ministry of Sanitation and Water Resources partnered the Ghana Water Company Limited and Community Water and Sanitation Agency to ensure the full realization of the objective. The program started in April 2020 and was extended to June 2021 for domestic consumers whose monthly consumption does not exceed 5,000 liters. In all, over 10 million urban dwellers were supplied with potable water by Ghana Water from April to December 2020. This initiative currently supplies free water to a total of over 2.3 million urban domestic dwellers whose monthly consumption does not exceed 5,000 liters of potable water at a cumulative cost of 836.82 million Ghana cedis. Mr. Speaker, CWSA, on the other hand, supplied 17.9 billion liters of potable water to rural and peri-urban population of 5.8 million at a total cost of 100.28 million Ghana cedis between April 2020 and June 2021. Mr. Speaker, the COVID-19 National Trust Fund was set up under Act 1013 to receive and manage contributions and donations from well-meaning individuals, groups, and corporate bodies. As at 30th June 2021, the COVID-19 National Trust Fund had received a total amount of 57.15 million in cash donations. These donations were made between the period April 2020 and March 2021. As at 30th June 2021, the fund had disbursed an amount of 52.5 million Ghana cedis for various programs, as well as procurement of items. Mr. Speaker, the COVID-19 pandemic has forced Africa into a liquidity crisis that needs to be reversed. At the just ended 2021 Africa Development Bank Annual General Meeting in Accra, African finance ministers were in consensus that the current global financial architecture, which was designed about 75 years ago without Africa, has become less responsive to Africa's liquidity and financing need, and is no longer fit for purpose. Africa cannot truly rise unless there's a tectonic shift, Mr. Speaker, in the global financial architecture to support it. To this end, African finance ministers have commenced global advocacy for the IMF to unlend between 25 to 30% of its new SDR of $650 billion to Africa. We are also advocating for the establishment of the African Stability Mechanism and the African Liquidity and Sustainability Facility, akin to the European Stability Mechanism. The African Stability Mechanism will protect the continent against external shocks by providing instant emergency access to financial assistance for countries in financial difficulty. The Liquidity and Sustainability Facility could also underwrite a more effective market in African debt that reduces the high liquidity premium African countries pay for sustainability-linked investments. Implementation of Ghana Cares. Mr. Speaker, with every crisis, the need to restructure and diversify the economy becomes imperative. The recent experience of the COVID-19 pandemic, with its disruptive impact on global and regional value chains, has once again highlighted the need to build a transformed Ghana beyond aid. It is for this reason that in November 2020, government launched the audacious 100 billion Ghana COVID-19 alleviation and revitalization of enterprises support, Ghana Cares, Obatampa program. The first phase of the program, also known as the stabilization phase, was implemented between July and December 2020. It alleviated the immediate impact of COVID-19 on our economy and restored normalcy in the lives and livelihoods of Ghanaians through substantially subsidized water and electricity costs, hot meals and food packages distributed to vulnerable and underprivileged persons, increased allocation for the CAP bus scheme to support MSMEs, Ghana's CD 2 billion guarantee scheme established to support large businesses, established skills training programs in collaboration with social partners and faith-based organizations, and passage of urgent legislation to enforce COVID-19 safety protocols. Since the turn of the year, we have been purposefully pursuing the second phase of the Ghana Cares program to revitalize the economy and set it on track for transformation. As already articulated, our approach under this program is to revitalize the private sector in targeted sectors to fast-track competitive import substitution, export expansion, and the creation of decent jobs for our youth in a commercial environment that is increasingly regionally integrated. We have operationalized a well-thought-out implementation and coordination framework of a functional and staffed Ghana Cares Coordinating Office within the Ministry of Finance. Additionally, Ghana Cares delivery units, including sector specialists from the private sector, have been activated in all participating MDAs. Implementation compacts, Mr. Speaker, outlining the most critical interventions for 2021, delivery and reporting arrangements, as well as commitments by Ministry of Finance and participating MDAs have been signed. The participating ministries, departments, and agencies include the Ministry of Agriculture, Ministry of Trade and Industry, Ministry of Science and Technology, Ministry of Communications and Digitalization, MOTAC, GIPC, and GRA. Mr. Speaker, in line with our commitment to a functioning financial ecosystem and the Ghana Cares, we are establishing the building blocks for a stronger network of institutions to support businesses and entrepreneurship, including the Development Bank of Ghana, GERSO, the Ghana Commodity Exchange Venture Capital Trust, and the recently established Ghana Enterprises Agency. This network of institutions would anchor a new age of entrepreneurship, job creation, and wealth building for our post-COVID transformation. Mr. Speaker, to modernize our agricultural sector, we are investing in initiatives that would improve production and productivity in the rice, poultry, soya, as well as participation in commercial farming. Mr. Speaker, Ghana Cares is providing catalytic support to drive efficiency and improve outputs in the agriculture sector by investing in data and digital technology. These technologies would revolutionize the targeting of inputs such as seed inputs, extension services, and acquisition of land for commercial farming. Additionally, the program will support the reform of the fertilizer subsidy system using digital technology to make it more efficient and less prone to smuggling. This will be achieved by registering farmers for improved targeting. The registration will provide information on farmers, biodata, crops cultivated, acreage, digital location of farms to track seed and fertilizer subsidy programs. By end February 2022, 1.2 million farmers will be registered. Mr. Speaker, thank you. Additionally, Mr. Speaker, the program will support the reform of the fertilizer subsidy program. Mr. Speaker, accelerated expansion of Ghana's light manufacturing is a focus under Ghana Cares. Government is delivering dedicated support to expand the production capacity of our pharmaceutical, garments, and textiles industries, as well as the processing capacity of our agro-processors to increase exports and create additional jobs. Specific interventions include support for the establishment of a cassava processing plant, provision of technical assistance to the garment and textiles industry, as well as the pharmaceutical industries. Key pharmaceutical manufacturing companies are being supported to upgrade their operations to attain good manufacturing practice standards and benefit from the African Continental Free Trade Area. Additionally, government is working feverishly to establish a garment industrial park in Dawa, which will boost exports and create additional jobs under the Ghana Cares program. Mr. Speaker, rapid acquisition of capabilities to manufacture machine tools to support industrialization is a major priority under Ghana Cares. Government and MESTI has therefore established the foundry for the fabrication of tools and is in the process of identifying suitable private sector operator to manage the foundry. We are also providing incentives to the private sector to manufacture key agricultural implements and prototype industrial research on a commercial basis. Mr. Speaker, we are aggressively promoting international and domestic tourism through Ghana Cares by supporting the modernization and development of selected tourist sites. We are therefore upgrading the scale of sector operators, working to reduce the cost of doing business and improving the competitiveness of enterprises in the sector, as well as transforming targeted tourist beaches to increase patronage such as in Sakumono, Axum, and Elmina. Mr. Speaker, in support of government's agenda to provide sustainable and completed affordable housing, we are providing funds to the National Home Ownership Fund. This fund, to be matched by participating financial institutions, will provide low blended mortgage interest rates of between 11 to 12%, as compared to the current market rates between 25 to 26%. Through this intervention, which builds upon and expands the pilot project implemented last year, our quest to promote residential home ownership while boosting the domestic construction sector to provide more jobs is on course. Mr. Speaker, Ghana Cares is providing catalytic investment for the development of communication infrastructure this year. Government is consolidating and expediting projects such as Smart Workshop, National ID, digital address systems, land records digitization, as well as virtual learning platforms to bridge the digital divide for the benefit of all citizens. Funds have been allocated to Ministry of Communication and Digitalization for the establishment of digital and innovation hubs in 4 additional cities, following the successful pilot of the Digital and Innovation Hub in Accra. These hubs will eventually be expanded to all regions in subsequent years. Mr. Speaker, ongoing efforts to consolidate the fiber assets of Volta River Authority, Electricity Company of Ghana, Ghana Great Company Limited, Ghana National Gas Company Limited, Bureau of National Communication, Ghana Investment Fund for Electronic Communication, and others are being sustained under this program. We are also enhancing the capacity of key institutions and improving coordination with the private sector for quality service delivery to facilitate business expansion and economic transformation. Mr. Speaker, government is aware of the critical importance of additional revenue to finance all these initiatives that underpin our recovery and transformation agenda. Indeed, we are committed to raising our tax to GDP from the current 14% to 20% as our peers in the sub-region. The Ghana Revenue Authority is therefore implementing a transformation agenda to block the huge leakages in key sectors of the economy. This transformation agenda is not just about mobilizing more, it is equally about mobilizing efficiently through technology and integrated data systems. We have also established, as I mentioned, the RACE initiative to complement the efforts of the Ghana Revenue Authority, the remit to identify and prevent revenue leakages whilst reinforcing the culture of compliance nationwide. A formal launch of this initiative is scheduled for Monday, 2nd August 2021. Mr. Speaker, the GIPC also has a crucial role to play under the Ghana Cares program by spearheading the mobilization of 70 billion Ghana cedis in private sector investment. We are supporting GIPC to be more targeted and proactive in seeking investment into the prioritized sectors for the nation. The intentional and dedicated effort to attract global and regional brands in the likes of Twitter, Google, will be leveraged to grow local enterprises. Mr. Speaker, as part of measures to mitigate the impact of unanticipated future socioeconomic crises such as COVID-19 pandemic on Ghanaian workers, government announced in the 2020 mid-year review of fiscal policy the establishment of the National Unemployment Insurance Scheme and training retraining programs as part of the Ghana Cares Obatampa program. Mr. Speaker, we are currently in the design phase of the National Unemployment Scheme, and key stakeholders are being consulted. The consultations will be scaled up to include more stakeholders and technical experts to ensure that the project design suits the Ghanaian labor market. Mr. Speaker, the implementation of the training and retraining component of the program has been accelerated. Government, together with the social partners, have decided to pilot the national training and retraining program in the 2 sectors that were mostly affected by the pandemic, namely the private education sector and the hospitality and tourism sector. The compacts which have been signed between the Ministries of Finance and the number of MDAs specify specific results to be achieved by the MDAs and the catalytic resources to be provided by the Ministry of Finance. Each compact includes a clear results tracking framework with further releases of funds tied to performance. I'm happy to report that this exciting performance-based arrangement is up and running. The catalytic resources have started flowing, and the MDAs are energized and getting on with the activities. The Compass ensure effective and timely delivery of targets under Ghana Cares for 2021. Mr. Speaker, government is demonstrably committed to the nation's economic recovery and eventual transformation as envisioned by the Ghana Cares program. We are innovating new ways to get results. We are engaging all actors to secure keen participation and involvement. We are aggressively mobilizing resources to deliver the program. The recent urgency brought to bear by our youth is appreciated. We will continue to prioritize the opportunities as a means for this transformation journey. Mr. Speaker, the implementation of the Ghana Cares complement the existing flagship programs such as Free SHS, PFG, 1D, 1F, among others, which are being rationalized to enhance the quality of life of our people and further advance our transformation agenda. To this end, the recent challenges relating to the school feeding program and IPEP and caterers are being resolved. Mr. Speaker, despite the generally strong performance of our economy in recent decades, the issue of unemployment and jobs for our youth, who constitute close to 71% of our population, persists. This situation has been exacerbated by the impact of this pandemic. Taking the lesson from our recent past, we are deliberately intervening to avoid a jobless economic growth and recovery. Mr. Speaker, at the strategic level, our comprehensive and holistic response to the employment and jobs issue remains anchored on the private sector. It is for this reason that government's recovery program transformation agenda is easing the constraints of the private sector to enable them to expand and provide jobs for the youth. A recent survey indicated that about 50% of local employers report misalignment of or inadequacy of skills in the market. It also reports that at least 50% of new tertiary institutions entrants are enrolling in programs in sectors with no or little growth in labor market. Mr. Speaker, in response to this, we are strengthening the links between education and job market stakeholders. We are also revitalizing the skills development initiatives under Ghana Enterprises Agency, NEIP, YEA, and CODVET. We are also feverishly working on a scheme that enables the private sector to train new recruits entrants at a subsidized rates by government. Mr. Speaker, our intention of building an entrepreneurial nation is already known. We aim to empower our youth to be at ease and venture into businesses. The cleanup of the financial sector and the invigoration of the entrepreneurial ecosystem is expected to help remove the binding constraints of financing and market linkages for our daring youth. Our focus will remain on establishing a strong value system for entrepreneurship to flourish. Mr. Speaker, recognizing that more needs to be done, government is today announcing a 1 million jobs initiatives to aggressively respond to the needs of the country. This is to promote growth in SMEs, support new ventures, and stimulate innovation and startups. Mr. Speaker, the Enterprise and Youth Support Fund, which aligns with government's overall strategy of developing a competitive and viable private sector economy, will set up a youth bank with the aim of financing youth-led startup businesses across the country. As part of this initiative, an online investment hub will be established for youth across the country to access information for the purpose of establishing businesses. It is estimated over 100,000 jobs will be created through this. Mr. Speaker, the Venture Fund Trust, which is being revamped to be better positioned to carry out the designated activities, also as a fund manager. Mr. Speaker, we are also pursuing the Obatampa Youth Entrepreneurship Drive, Ghana Skills and Entrepreneurship Development Project, Student Entrepreneurship Initiative, the Youth in Community Improvement Model, and the Alternative Employment and Livelihood Program as direct interventions in targeted sectors to help our youth live decent lives and contribute to nation building. These interventions are clearly designed to bring us closer to confronting the jobs and employment challenges of our youth. To ensure dedicated resources, the Ministry of Finance and all participating institutions will next month sign an implementation compact on youth employment, which will tie release of resources to delivery of results. This compact will also track youth-focused initiatives across the value chain of interventions under the Ghana Cares program. Women-focused interventions. Mr. Speaker, women have been disproportionately impacted by COVID-19 pandemic. Government is activating a policy to have 20% of procurements awarded to women. Women will also be supported with specific capacity building programs and will be empowered to leverage the danger-sensitive lending policies to be implemented by the Development Bank of Ghana. Mr. Speaker, His Excellency declared 2021 as the second year of roads. And government prioritized roads for economic development and putting the economy back on track following the devastating impact of COVID-19 pandemic. From January to end June 2021, routine maintenance was carried out on 11,174 kilometers of trunk road network, 5,389 kilometers of the feeder road network, and 2,937 kilometers of the urban road network. Additionally, periodic maintenance comprising regraveling, spot improvement, and resealing works were carried out in the same period on 44, 167, and 262 kilometers of trunk, feeder, and urban road networks, respectively. Mr. Speaker, works were completed on the Tema Motorway Runabout Phase 1 in June 2020. The second phase of the project, which involves the third tier of the interchange, is expected to take off by third quarter 2021. Following the completion of Phase 1 of the Obecha-Bilamte Circle interchange and other ancillary works, work on Phase 2 has started and currently at a physical progress of 15%. In 2020, works were also started on the La Beach Road project, which involves improving capacity along the Accra-Tema Beach Road and the construction of a three-tier interchange at Nungwa Barrier. Physical progress for lots 1 and 2 is 13% and 11% respectively. Mr. Speaker, physical progress of work on the Kumasi Lake roads and drainage extension projects is 73% complete as at the end of June 2021. The construction of 7 bridges is also on the way, and the completion with 4 bridges launched and 1 at substructure level. Overall progress is 70% at the end of June 2021. Mr. Speaker, works began in 2020 for the construction of 50 bridges nationwide aimed at improving connectivity within areas cut off by waterways. The first batch of 21 steel bridge components have arrived in the country. Work have started on 14 of the substructures and 3 were completed. Government has awarded contracts for the implementation of 84 critical regional and interregional roads projects with an estimated length of 2,237 kilometers at a cost of 7.8 billion Ghana cedis. Mr. Speaker, even though Ghana remains a pillar of stability in the region, the sub-regional security situation continues to be rather volatile. Terrorist threats and general cross-border security issues are becoming increasingly imminent in view of the continuous terrorist attacks in the Sahel region, and particularly from Mali and Burkina Faso. In particular, the southward drift of the activities of violent extremist terrorists and pirates in the Gulf of Guinea have become more widespread, frequent, and deadly with the underlying dynamics. Mr. Speaker, it becomes imperative that we address the existing vulnerabilities and intensify preemptive, preventive, and countermeasures to any potential threats to our security and sovereignty in the light of the risk of the sub-region suffering from the contagion effects in the short to medium term. Mr. Speaker, government has revamped and retooled the Ghana Boundary Commission since the beginning of 2021 to to undertake its strategic mandate of determining and demarcating the land boundaries and delimitation of maritime boundaries of Ghana in accordance with accepted principles of international law. Mr. Speaker, we are also working further to retool the intelligence agencies through the deployment of enhanced intelligence infrastructure. Mr. Speaker, Ghana continues to demonstrate leadership on sub-regional issues coordinated through the Accra Initiative, which serves as a coordinated and intelligence sharing platform with neighboring countries. Mr. Speaker, we'll come to this honorable House in support of the security of Ghana. Mr. Speaker, the Ghana Infrastructure Investment Fund was established to mobilize, manage, coordinate, and provide financial resources for investment and infrastructure projects and ease the burden of quasi-public debt on our budget. Over the last decade, we've witnessed an increasing trend where sovereign funds have been deployed as catalysts for growth and development in emerging markets such as Asia and Middle East. This is also beginning to be adopted in Africa, and the government of Ghana intends to allow GIF to increasingly play such a role for Ghana. The government intends to reduce our infrastructure gap by enabling GIF to drive sizable but economically viable infrastructure projects to conclusion, which will also create additional fiscal space for government to operate. As such, we've nominated GIF as a vehicle to be used to restructure and refinance expensive debt of the independent power producers in the energy sector, as well as take energy equity positions in some cases to help reduce the fiscal burden of overcapacity charges we've been left with. Negotiations with several of the independent power producers are in their final stages. Government also intends to use GIF as a vehicle under the Ghana Cares program to drive our structural transformation through funding for critical infrastructure such as the district hospitals, Agenda 111, quality and affordable housing, improved rail and road networks, and ICT infrastructure. We've therefore revised the Earmarked Funds Act to allow a 20% increase in the allocation of ABFA CAPEX to GIF for the funding of Agenda 111 and other development expenditure. Mr. Speaker, on the 26th of April 2020, His Excellency the President, as part of his 8th address to the nation on government's efforts to combat the coronavirus, laid out an ambitious plan to tackle Ghana's health infrastructure deficit and restore the country on the path of achieving economic and social transformation. This transformation project, now dubbed Agenda 111, will require the government to construct 101 standard district hospitals, 6 new regional hospitals, 1 regional hospital for the Western region, rehabilitation of a Fiakwanta hospital in the Western region, constructing 2 new psychiatric hospitals, construction of a new Accra psychiatric hospital. The objective is to use the local teams comprising of Ghanaian consultants, project managers, and construction firms. It is envisaged that upon the successful completion of Agenda 111, Ghanaians across the country will experience a marked improvement in access to healthcare. Mr. Speaker, government and the project coordinating team have worked tirelessly on phase 1, and I'm happy to report that pre-contract works have been completed for 88 sites for the district hospitals. Mr. Speaker, we expect to commence phase 2 construction 3 weeks from now, from 17th August 2021. Mr. Speaker, an important project such as Agenda 111 requires extensive preparation and due diligence. We are confident and happy with the level of detail and attention that has gone into the pre-contract works. Rehabilitation and expansion of the Sunyani Airport. Mr. Speaker, the rehabilitation and expansion of the Sunyani Airport aligns with government's policy objective to have at least an operational aerodrome airstrip in each of the regions in the country. The rehabilitation expansion will adequately address the current operational challenges and propel business and industrial growth in the Bono region and its catchment area. Lands and mining. Mr. Speaker, the Ministry of Lands and Natural Resources, in line with the President, has held a national dialogue followed by 2 regional dialogues on small-scale mining. Following this, several measures are being put in place to build a sustainable, viable, and responsible small-scale mining industry that protects the national environment. The ministry will beef up the personnel and other logistics of the Inspectorate Division of the Minerals Commission to undertake strict monitoring and enforcement of our mining laws. The Lands Commission has commenced the process of regional education and sensitization on the new Land Act 2020, Act 1036. Efforts to protect forests and recover lost ones have included Green Ghana project. We saw the planting of over 5 million trees on June 11, 2021, the Green Ghana Day. The outright ban on the harvesting and exportation of rosewood, and the declaration of forest reserve in red zones for mining. Mr. Speaker, the ministry also has a program for alternative employment and livelihoods, which will be rolled out soon. As part of these efforts, the program will be anchored on 6 main interventions, namely national land reclamation and reforestation, agriculture and agro-processing, apprenticeship, skills training and entrepreneurship, responsible, viable, and sustainable community mining, mine support services, and community enhancement projects. These initiatives will target mainly illegal miners displaced by the ongoing efforts to sanitize the mining industry. Government recognizes the need to protect our environment just as it finds it necessary to provide alternative employment and livelihoods for our compatriots who will inevitably fall through the cracks. Mr. Speaker, initially this will be in the Ashanti, Eastern, Western, and Western North Central regions. We are determined to ensure the responsible or sustainable exploitation of the lands and natural resources of our country. Mr. Speaker, on energy, the COVID-19 pandemic has amplified the campaign for a transition away from fossil fuels. Given the prevailing sentiment around energy transition, there's a strong possibility that Ghana may be left with stranded assets unless we accelerate our exploration activities and develop a homegrown strategy to extract our fossil fuel. As such, GNPC is looking at opportunities for its Exploco to acquire such assets and become an operator in its own right to ensure the expeditious development of our resources. The new strategy may require an amendment or revision of the PRMA to allow GNPC to enter into some reserve-based lending transactions financing to consummate these acquisitions and to finance exploration and development of such fields without having to rely primarily on GOG for funding. Mr. Speaker, to that extent, GNPT has already identified some major potential acquisition targets of offshore blocks and has entered into discussions with the shareholders with an aim to acquiring controlling equity stake and eventually becoming operators through Exploco. We shall always come back to the House with any agreements once concluded. Mr. Speaker, the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals call for urgent action by all countries aimed at encouraging sustained economic growth underpinned by social, economic, and environmental sustainability, a blueprint for peace and prosperity for people and the planet now and in the future. Accordingly, the government of Ghana recognizes that we must be at the forefront and promote the building blocks for an inclusive and sustainable recovery. Our focus remains to move urgently toward opportunities and solutions that achieve sustainable and broad-based economic growth without harming our climate or leaving hundreds of millions of families in poverty. As such, government has commenced discussions with international organizations such as the World Economic Forum to identify SDG financing gap and develop a roadmap to attract innovative finance to close the gap for the attainment of the SDGs by 2020. Ghana and Switzerland have also agreed on a roadmap for 50 million tons of carbon capture. Globally, the international capital market is moving its financing appetite towards sustainable initiatives that support such goals. Ghana is also keen on positioning itself to benefit from the desire to provide such financing by developing an ESG framework which will allow proceeds raised or an amount equivalent to such proceeds raised to be used for financing or refinancing eligible green and sustainable projects such as renewable energy, health, education-related infrastructure, amongst others. Mr. Speaker, our partnership with FBOs has directly and indirectly benefited over 46,000 and 100,000 trainees, respectively, in fashion, catering, cosmetology, electronics, soft business, and managerial skills. Efforts are being made to roll out the next phase by end of the third quarter. We continue to count, Mr. Speaker, on our SBO partnerships to sensitize and ensure adherence to the life-saving mask-wearing, social distancing, and enhanced hygiene protocols within our communities. Mr. Speaker, work on the National Cathedral is progressing speedily, and following the program of the contractors, and with God helping us, the National Cathedral is expected to be officially commissioned on March 6, 2024. Upon completion, the National Cathedral will provide a sacred space for formal religious activities of state and symbolize the enormous contribution of faith to nation building. Mr. Speaker, this state and church partnership envisaged by the President to develop the National Cathedral is on course. An initiative, the 100 CDs a Month Club, also dubbed Ketua Biara Nswa, will be launched by the trustees of the National Cathedral on August 12, 2021, to give as many Ghanaians as possible the opportunity to be part of the history to build the National Cathedral. The aim of the club is to raise 1 million Ghanaians who will give 100 CDs a month for the construction of the National Cathedral. A special short code 979 has been developed for this purpose. We look forward to Mr. Speaker and all the members of this august house joining the 100 CDs a month club. Mr. Speaker, with your permission, may I convey a special message from His Excellency the President to the young people of our beloved country. The last couple of years has not been easy for our young people. Your education has been disrupted. For many of you, your business plans are on hold because of lack of funding or opportunities. You may have lost your job or are simply tired of joining long queues or filling job application forms for vacancies that are filled even before your ink is dry. But we have a message for you. Big opportunities are coming, and the President wants you to be part of that. The President is determined to see as many of you having the opportunity to help shape our future. We value your input, and even as we roll out programs to support you, we will continue to engage. Now more than ever, we need to create a large pool of employment opportunities for the growing number of young Ghanaians who now have increased access to education. At the heart of the policies outlined in today's statement is the rolling out of various programs to build an economy that allows you to unleash the wealth and breadth of your energies. Your President believes in the power of constructive collective action. Together we can ensure that yesterday's problems are tackled today so that we do not carry them on to the next generation. As the great American Franklin Roosevelt once said, the only limit to our realization of tomorrow will be our doubts of today. We must confront the spirit of doubt and face our fears in faith. Mr. Speaker, today we have announced key job creation and entrepreneurship interventions such as a new bank product and a host of other government interventions that target young people. These should enable us to connect applicants to appropriate job opportunities or provide assistance to allow applicants to confidently start their own businesses and take full advantage of the supportive ecosystem we have put in place. So to the young people of Ghana, let me stress to you that our policies are not simply about the next election, even as we persevere to break the proverbial 8, but more importantly, it is about empowering the generation for them to also to prepare a brighter Ghana for the next generation. Our responsibility as your government is not just about responding to the judgment of posterity. Conclusion. Mr. Speaker, it has been almost 16 months since 11th March 2020 when WHO declared the COVID-19 a pandemic. However, as a country, we have reason to be optimistic and hopeful. Based on key indicators, we are on track to recovering from the most difficult crisis in the post-war era. In the next few months, the Ministry of Health aims to embark on an aggressive vaccination program, which we are confident will help us achieve herd immunity and break the chain of infections in our nation. Mr. Speaker, we are only in the 7th month of the second 4-year mandate of the government of President Akufo-Addo and the New Patriotic Party. Ghanaians renewed our mandate because they recognize that the difficult crisis that the country and the world as a whole were facing as a result of COVID-19 pandemic required competent and bold leadership, which we have proved and will continue to provide under the decisive leadership of His Excellency President Nana Akufo-Addo. Mr. Speaker, permit me to say, with all the confidence that I can muster, that the President promised to leave at the end of his term in January 2025 a legacy of a proud and confident nation at peace with itself and the world around it is on course. We are pushing the boundaries of our economic activity and doing so right from the center of a fast integrating single market for the continent of Africa. If we stay on course, Mr. Speaker, a few years from now, within this decade, Ghana's strategic place at the center of the Africa Continental Free Trade Area of 1 billion consumers and some 2.5 trillion GDP and growing will become a reality. The policies of this government in education, infrastructure development, industrialization, in fast-tracking digital technologies, in strengthening the financial services sector, in foreign diplomacy, are all being deliberately pursued and synchronized to get this generation to establish Sub-Sahara's first independent nation, Ghana, as a commercial and investment center for Africa. We began by setting the country on a transformation track back in 2027 with our bold vision of a Ghana beyond aid. The recovery is on. We are back on track despite the pandemic. The plan of the President is to achieve from this year a strong and sustainable recovery of the economy. Mr. Speaker, our pillars of recovery in 2021 have been built on the strategy of completion, consolidation, and continuity. We choose to be bold in crafting a 2021 budget that deals with the past, delivers opportunities in the present, while investing in the future in a responsible and interconnected manner. Specifically in 2021, we aim at A, COVID-19 containment measures, including vaccination, creating jobs, B, creating jobs, promoting entrepreneurship and wealth creation, C, developing our infrastructure with priority focus on roads, railway, water, and sanitation, hospitals, and housing, diversifying productivity and high-value services, implementing bold reforms to increase revenue mobilization and the efficiency of public expenditure, deepening structural reforms to make the machinery of government work better for the people, and rolling out digital technologies, e.g. national ID, digital address system, payment systems, interoperability, land title registration, Ghana.gov, to improve our service delivery. Mr. Speaker, the deliberate strategy of the Akufo-Addo government to invest in digital infrastructure and get Ghana fully plugged into the global ecosystem of digital technology has been further vindicated by the COVID-19 crisis. The pandemic has heightened the need for digital technology in our homes, for schools, for work, and even leisure. That is why today, Ghana is at the forefront of using digital technology to expand access to finance and financial products for all Ghanaians. Digitalization is making the delivery of services more. Financial Management Act.
Welcome to the Lowdown on GhanaWeb TV. This program covers all the relevant issues from the hard truth, the facts, and the fears. My name is Ni Akwe Ismail Akwe. In this edition, we are going to discuss the issues surrounding a community which has been tainted with so many stereotypes, yet plays an integral role in the country when it comes to politics and youth mobilization. This community has a ministry in its name, yet always gets the negative media coverage. We are going to talk about the Zongo community, youth development, and religious tolerance in this edition of the Lowdown. We'll be right back. You are watching the Lowdown. My name is Ni Akwe Ismail Akwe. Our guest wears several hats. He is a Muslim scholar, a teacher, a member of the Coalition of Domestic Election Observers, CODEO, and is acting chairman during the 2020 elections. He is also the spokesperson for the office of the National Chief Imam. Welcome to the Lowdown, Sheikh Amir Al-Shaibu.
Thank you very much for the opportunity.
You are a very, very important person, and you also speak for a very, very, very important person in the person of Sheikh Osman Shaibu, the National Chief Imam. How is the role like? Is it very heavy?
I mean, thank you so much. With all humility, I don't know how important I am. Yeah, but it's a matter of service to a man whom we have rightly described as the gift to the country because of the impact he has and the calmness and the peace of the country. He has become an icon of peace, and so because he's a symbol of admiration for so many people and a lot of expectations around him. He's a leader in a modern day context that the youth have a lot of expectations. There are a lot of challenges. So really, it is really a heavy duty to be around him, to be able to speak for him. I give you an example. The Chief Imam is a Muslim cleric and a mystic. And mystics talk very less, very reflective, very deep in their thought. They are very wise, and so on. And so sometimes they are even not understood. So now when he speaks in public, then you have to make what he says intelligible, make it more understandable across the cultures. I give a very interesting example. During the June 13, this disaster circle, yes. I don't know.
The fire disaster.
Yeah, is it June 13th? Yes, or June 3rd?
I think it's June 3rd. Yes.
June 3rd. You know, there was a memorial service organized, I think at that time by TV3 or so, in conjunction with one of the politicians. The Chief Imam was invited there, and in the initial statement made by the Chief Imam to show his sympathy, he said, "What has happened is a blessing." Then the context of this speech put against the culture of the people who have been affected. They were in red, they were in black, they were grieving. Then you have a religious person who comes to tell them, well, what has happened to you is a blessing. How should I place this, the context for it to become acceptable to them, and that's how difficult my work is.
Yes, I can see that, and I think there's a lot of criticism coming your way as
Yes,
well.
yeah, sometimes.
The most recent is, why should the chief imam in his age be allowed to go to Ejura after the violence?
You know,
they're saying the handlers, including yourself, are to blame for it.
And it's those things, and I think it's an opportunity for us sometimes. Chief Imam's leadership and his impact cuts across different spaces within our community. In fact, some are political, social, and so and then religious. And he has taken part. Chief Imam, if people don't understand him, he relates very well and accords respect to every government. Every, I'm saying every. And he has lived across from the pre-our return to constitutional rule to about 30 years ago. So he knows Rawlings. And even I, as a much younger person, have known Rawlings and have related with him because of the role I play. Chief Imam has known Rawlings. He has known Kufuor. He has known John Atta Mills, all of them excellencies. After Atta Mills, he has known John Dramani Mahama, whom he called his first son. And now is His Excellency Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo. So if you come to my hall now, you see a certain picture in which I am close to the Chief Imam, Rawlings directly behind me, and Kufuor following him. So we have worked, and Chief Imam Accord works closely with any government. Anytime they have requested his support, and that's why you see him in state events. Yeah. He's invited. Inauguration of other new edifices or any policy with government wants public support, he's invited. So the context of the visit of the Chief Imam here, yeah, he's old, 102 years, but I tell you, he's vital. Very vital and very strong. If you leave him, he will walk. All his teeth, they are there. He can see. He writes without using the spectacles. How many people of his age are able to walk about without spectacles? Chief Imam writes, his hand doesn't shake. He signs document. Anyone who likes can check his document that he has ever signed. Up till now, he signs documents. His hand never shakes. So he's vital. He assumes a leadership of service to community. He has become an icon of peace. So whenever there is any crisis, government seek his intervention. That's what he does. During the Hohoi, the B traditional area and the Zongo community clash, yeah, the traditional authority were not prepared to talk to anybody. The only person they were prepared to talk to was the Chief Imam. And he was made to travel from Accra here to Hohoi. And his visit there alone was enough to quell down and bring back calm. Tafo, traditional chief was assaulted by the people of the Zongo. He had to go there. He'd calm down. Does he choose to go himself, or sometimes it is our advice, sometimes it is a request. Okay. Look, so for example, if violence breaks up and we need somebody who can calm the place down, and the government or vice president or the president calls, old man, something is the fire is burning, and if you don't go there, that fire will continue burning. Can you help us? Chief Imam is a religious person. He is calm. He is well connected spiritually. And God has endeared him to the heart of people. He enjoys eminence and reverence. So sometimes his presence alone, this is what people must understand. Yeah. I want Muslims to understand this. The value of what the type of leadership Chief Imam is given is not for him alone, but he said that it is God's favor. So Chief Imam is a favor to us as Muslims and to the nation. And whenever there is crisis, his intervention is able to kill it down. And I think I am very confident, and I speak for him, because I understand his philosophy and his principles and his intentions, and I can speak for him without any equivocation. I would love to know his reaction to the calls for your dismissal from the office when you announced the parallel vote tabulation for the Codeo. Yes. What does he normally, how does he react to such calls? When that happened, yes, I read that report. I am still currently the acting chairman of Codeo, still. Yeah. So by our practice, it is the chairman who reads our report. So on the eve of election, I had read our plan for deployment. So I was one who read it, and it was aired. Everybody saw it. Then on the day on E-Day, that's election day, 12 noon, we give a midday report of the state of the election. I read that one, and we gave our impression based on information we have received from our rapid response observers who have been deployed at sampled polling stations that and so we are able to give percentages with respect to different items that we have on our checklist. That's what we did. So I gave a report. Now the third one is the PVT. The PVT is a statistical method of checking the result as it turned out by the EC. So if you like, you can call it a check. Yeah. And so, and usually, understanding the law, we don't go ahead of the EC to announce our results. Yeah. But I can tell you, by midnight on election day, we know the direction of the results. But by law, we don't come out, because we work to complement the work of the EC and not to undermine it. So we respect the mandate of the EC. So we don't go ahead. So after the pronouncement of the results, then we check it against ours. If we think that it goes, because ours is an estimation. That's what people don't understand. Ours is an estimation, and we don't cover every polling station. So we give our estimation, and I was the one who read it, and I read it right. I have no regrets for doing so, because Kodeo has been in this country we have been doing this job for more than 2 decades. We have been doing this job. We have done our PVT. It has favored different governments, including the former President John Dramani Mahama, Atamil's excellencies, all of them. We have done the PVT and we have pronounced in their favor. And that's why I was surprised when, just because I have read, that thing came up, and the youth were mobilized, to go, yeah. And to be honest with you, during the heat, I withdrew a little bit, to a reflection. When you grow, yeah, you should be able to expect these things and what they mean in the role that you play. Sometimes it's intended to break you down. And anyone who is in some of this and never get broken down by some of these attacks.
Did you get any warning letter from the chief imam or
at all? So just after some few days, morning like this, I just drove to the chief imam's house when things are beginning to calm down, and he entered, and he himself told me these are part of the challenges, and that sometimes when you are performing these roles, you can be confronted by people of hatred. Sometimes your cohorts, sometimes envy, people. In fact, and then just that, I will tell you on this program that he raised his hand and said, "Let's pray." After prayer, he told me I should go away. Yeah, and I have been playing my role up till now. Just yesterday, just last week, we were together with him at Ejura. I still continue to speak on his behalf.
That's quite interesting, and it says a lot about the chief imam. We'll come back and we'll talk about your statement saying the relationship or the coexistence of Muslims and Christians and other religions is a fallacy, and it also got you hot. We'll be back after this break. This is a lowdown. Welcome back to the Lowdown. My name is Ni Akwe Ismail Akwe. Our guest is Sheikh Amiao Shaibu. So Sheikh, we're talking about your relationship with the Chief Imam and also the issues that you've encountered as part of your work with the Chief Imam and Kodeo. And the most recent one, I don't know if you were speaking for the Chief Imam or you were speaking for yourself as a Muslim, the Wesley Girls Fasting Buha that came up. Yeah. And you said, well, the relationship was a fallacy. And we had a Christian council also saying we should withdraw that statement. Did you withdraw the statement?
No, I did not. I did not. And some of those things, when they happen, we say they are unfortunate. Muslims and Christians have lived in this country, yeah, but sometimes circumstances come, you have no choice but to say it as it is. The context of the brouhaha at the time has to do with the fasting of the month of Ramadan. As Muslims, fasting for us is a pillar of Islam. Its foundation comes from the text. So it's a commandment. So you cannot separate the Muslim from fasting in the month of Ramadan. And our young people are made to learn how to fast even from their infancies. I can tell you, by age 7, I was fasting. And I have done so up to this age. So we were, given where we have reached in our religious tolerance, we were expecting that the Muslim students in the Christian mission schools will be handled with so much tolerance. In fact, we should not paint all the schools with the same brush. And I must commend all the Christian mission schools that have been tolerant of Muslim students. Some have provided food. I, personally, as I speak to you now, I'm a product of an Anglican institution. And I proudly say so. It's a Retraining College. And one day when I met the bishop of Anglican, I said, Bishop, you know, you trained me as a teacher. He was surprised, but he was excited that seeing somebody, you know, like me saying that I have been trained by a Christian institution. So these tolerances have gone on. But this is the first time in the history of any misunderstanding between Muslims and Christians or any educational institution that fasting has become an issue. I can't remember any time that fasting has become an issue. So we're expecting this thing to be handled with some sensitivity, empathy, sympathy, because of the sensitivity of things that are religious. Things religious, even, look, they connect with our souls and our spirits. That's why people are sensitive. If you don't handle them well, then you create a problem. And I think that the matter was not properly handled. But let me also add that I think that the media also misinformed the public. Yeah. My worry was how the community handles the matter. But that probably the other reaction is more about how the media reported this. Yes. I have met the father of the young girl, and the girl herself has spoken. The headmistress did not say, stop the fast or withdraw you from the school. It is not the case. Unfortunately, that is how the thing was reported. Yeah. So it brought up certain sensitivity. It's unfortunate. But I spoke the feelings of the chief imam. Okay. Because earlier on, chief imam had asked me, in fact, he called me at one time in his chambers. That's before this incident, during the Rastafarian issue. The issue of Muslim students in mission schools began coming up. So he called me in his chamber. He said, this issue has been coming up. People are coming to disturb him. But he said, you understand this issue better. So do something about it. Yeah. So I spoke to some Christian friends who are in some of these big organizations because they are my friends. We work together. I think I'm one Muslim cleric in this country that has worked closely, I will say this, closely with the Christian community. All Christian researchers who want information to do their PhD, to do their masters, I'm the one they come to, and I am ready to give them every information. And we do joint programs together with them also in areas of peace and so on and so forth. And other advocacy works, I mean, we work together, the Catholic Secretariat, Christian Council, and so on and so forth, and at individual levels also.
So at the time, was it disappointment? Was it
anger? I must confess on this program that it was disappointment. I felt disappointed that for all the relationship that we have built on, a matter as sensitive as fasting comes, and then the way it was being handled, as if our case doesn't matter. That's how we felt. I must be honest. That's how we felt. I will tell you a secret. That before that joint statement, I was talking to very important persons from Christian Council and from the Catholic Secretariat. In the night, around 9 o'clock, I was talking. So I was expecting that the joint statement will show certain sensitivity, you know, okay, been coming as down, we will look at it, but then now we talk about what the GES has said and so on and so forth. Since it didn't come with that element of it, we say, oh, so all this relationships, I mean, Chief Imam goes to the church only because he wants to change a narrative, to build relationship. All this is not enough to really make them, you know, come with a little bit of empathy. That loss of empathy is what made me spoke the way I did in that disappointment. But it is also, I didn't want to also gain fame from such unfortunate situations. That's why I didn't talk again after it. Yeah. It is not my desire, my wish to gain fame or popularity because there's confusion. But it doesn't serve my own interest. It doesn't serve the interest of my community. It doesn't serve the interest of the country. What we are in to fight for is the peace, the enduring peace of our country, which we have enjoyed, which has made Ghana distinct And now we are told that we are second as the most peaceful country in Africa and 38 in the world. It's a matter of pride, regardless of what other people's opinion is, because I've heard some negative comments about it. But what do you lose? What do you lose if your country is so respected and admired across the world that your country is a peaceful country? And this gives you worry. I think we should be thinking positive.
Yes. So are you satisfied now with the intervention of the Ghana Education Service? Do you think the issue is now resolved completely?
No, it's not completely resolved. We are still working, and the Minister of Education has taken over. A certain MOU is supposed to be signed. And the MOU is supposed to be signed between, if you like, the government and religious bodies. That has been the wish and the desire of the religious bodies long time. So it's an outstanding issue. It's an outstanding issue. But for we Muslims, what we are worried about was, occasionally our issue comes up. Occasionally our issue comes up. And my worry is, we are living in a very turbulent sub-region exploited by terrorists. And we in Ghana here said we never want to give any soft grounds for any terrorist to find justification to enter into a country and engage in any nasty thing in our country. And to do so, we have to firm up our relationships. We have to sanitize our relationship. Never to give any young person in Ghana here to feel that he is a subject of discrimination or human rights abuse. And because of that, he can support the entrance of a terrorist in our land. Burkina Faso is just here. We are not safe. But because of our relationship, I have given assurance to this country and to all Christians that anytime any terrorist enter this country, we find him, we'll give him out. Whatever our relationship looks like, we will never allow or encourage any Muslim young person in this country to harbor or to hide or to give a safe haven to any terrorist. That is why issues like this, when they come up, they need to even be considered with the eye of security. So the Takrady demonstration came up, and the reason for which we have to go and meet for dialogue at Kofi Annan Peace Center. There were some recommendations. Those recommendations were not carried through. And because of that, we went around and we came back to it again. Occasionally we hear a woman has a hijab, she's going to write examination at WAEC, she's been denied because she's in hijab, and so on and so forth. And these things are very sensitive to the Muslim community. So they need to be handled with care. So the fact that we sat down and we did not work hard to get this thing through is the reason why we have come back again. But it's dangerous for the peace of our country. And I tell you, on this program, I receive a lot of bashing because the Muslim youth thinks that I have the voice to speak. I'm not speaking. There's a lot of expectation that people like me should be able to be in the forefront and fight and get this right. But out of my tolerance, my Chief Imam is my mentor. I mean, he's tolerant, he's peaceful. How can I be a mouthpiece of a peaceful person and then I'm violent? That would be contradictory.
So it means you're working backstage and people don't see what you're doing.
People don't see what we are doing.
So the MOU...
Because the expectations are very high.
So what's the percentage of, success when it comes to MOU? Where are we now in terms of getting this
for now, the Minister of Education has given the assurance. My hope is that we will not be like the old style that when the dust settles, yes, then we forget. But that all the assurance has been given that the MOU will be finished not long from now, and then it will be brought back to all of us, the various religious communities, to go through, because we all have to append our signatures to it. And because once we have not read it, no one will append a signature. That's exactly what, and then the content of the MOU will spell out, indeed, matters of religion in public funded institutions. Probably I should explain to you, in Ghana, in our educational institutions, we have 3 types of schools. We have those that are completely private schools. They are run privately. And they are companies, it's an industry. So somebody's running it, it's for him. You want for profit. Then we have the state-funded schools as a facility. The state has a duty to educate every Ghanaian child. So the state provides schools. Those schools are not religious institutions. They are secular. So that's one school. Then we have now the mission-run schools that are also public. They come in the sense of private-public partnership, if you like. So these schools are begun by religious communities. To a point, they cede it to the state, but still they also have a role to play in it. It used to be the case, so we have an institution called the Educational Unit System under the Ghana Education Service. I was the regional manager for Greater Accra for Islamic education before I went on retirement 4 years ago. Okay. So I have been part of the system. So these three categories, one completely private, one public, one run jointly by missions and the state, but still funded by the state. Like if you take Wegehe, Archbishop Porter, Mfansepim, these are all mission schools, but heavily funded by government. Now, what you will see is that, private practice, you go to state-funded schools. On Sunday, my child, your child, is compelled to go to church service on Sunday. It is completely wrong. I'm not saying so because I'm intolerant. I'm not saying so. But by our constitution, doing so means that you make one religion superior to the other. And sometimes you can see the contradiction it creates in our children. I'm a Muslim. I'm a role model to my children. I bring them up according to Islamic tradition and culture and understanding and worldview. Now they go to school and they sit in front of a pastor who tell them that Muslims will go to hell. I mean, my children ever reported to me, I will not mention the school, but they ever reported to me, even at parades. At parades, it's the Bible that is used. This is not a mission school. And I say this without any fear of contradiction. It is wrong and unconstitutional. It is wrong.
Even though it's the laws of the school,
yes,
the rules of the school.
Yes. And I'm saying so not because I'm intolerant. No. I'm very tolerant. But what is unconstitutional is unconstitutional. But it's been made part and parcel of the school system. And so you are in a stage where now you are teaching your children, you are teaching them government, civic education, you are teaching them human rights, you are even bringing them, you are teaching them human rights issues, and they are reading the constitution. They have become conscious of their rights, and then you deny them the rights. You have made them conscious of it. But as you say, in the name of school regulations, you deny them the right. What you are doing, you are building a team or an army of young people who will grow not to respect the rights of others. They will not see anything wrong abusing anybody's right. But when you create an open system where you are tolerant, and because of that, at one time you bring a Christian and he's talking to a Muslim. At one time you bring a Muslim, he's talking to a Christian. And you are seeing where we all meet in terms of our values. The Muslim is talking about corruption. The Christian is talking about corruption. The Muslim is talking about honesty and honest service to nation. The Christian pastor is also saying, and those who are listening to this are both Muslims and Christians. You are building a culture of tolerance.
So do you think we'll get there?
I think we are not there, but I think we must work there. Then the third one is the Christian mission schools. Yeah. For them, look, I want to be honest here. Some people don't want to agree that we have mission schools. We have them. These are schools established by the missions. They were the pioneers. If you take, formal education. But if you take general education, then Islamic education antedates mission Western education. Islamic education was brought in this country. The tradition of literacy to write and read was introduced by Muslims in this country, ahead of the coming of the Europeans. But if you take formal education, the Christian community is the pioneer of that. And so that's why they have many of the schools. And for them, education is key to evangelism at the time. Very key. So they have built these schools on the foundation of Christian philosophy, Christian doctrines. But that it has been run so much so that government has come into support, and it has become attractive. So it's virtually now a public school. So in such schools, when you go, they have their Christian traditions. So I think it will be unreasonable for any Muslim to go to any mission school and request that a mosque must be built there. So I asked them, what is a St. Thomas? Don't you hear the word saint? Can't you hear? Saint. When you hear the saint, what comes into your mind? Come to a Christian community. And this St. Thomas Aquinas.
Well, most of these schools have places of worship for Muslims.
That's why I'm saying that we should not use the same brush in painting all of them. Some are very tolerant, they have accepted Muslims and they are living. And so I think that where we have reached, because we have remnants of some of those who are intolerant, who might be abusing the rights, like we are told in the case of Wesley girls, that's what we are told. For them, you go, they see a copy of the Quran in your luggage, you are in trouble. Either it is seized, or they'll tell you here, no, you can't bring Quran here, even though it is in the bag. You can't say your daily salat, your daily prayer, you cannot say, you have to stand on your bed. You see, this is humiliating. I'm saying that it's humiliating, it's denigrating. You see, you come, your whole identity is challenged. You are not fully accepted.
But there are those of the views that you should build your schools, build yours, and go ahead with that. How do you approach
that? You see how dangerous that thing is? Dangerous. Dangerous for the tolerance and peace of our country. It is divisive. I, as a Muslim, will never support that approach. Never support that approach. You know the danger? Okay. So now it's we and them. Okay, Christians, build your schools, train your children. Muslims, build yours. And you know the message I give to the children? And then I go ahead and say, you know, these people, they don't like us. That's what we say. I mean, these people, you know, and they also say the same thing against us. And then we fill these children with a certain mindset of intolerance, mindset of hate, that Christians don't like Muslims, Muslims don't like Christians. And we build this. You know, when you are in child, one of the dangerous things you can do to your child is to be pointing somebody to your child that he's our enemy. Every day, he's our enemy. Every day, he's our enemy. You know what the child can grow to become? And once that mindset is grounded, to undo it, very Herculean. Very Herculean. And that's why it is not good, it is not right, it is wrong for anyone to advocate for distinctively separate schools for Muslims and Christians. But what we need to do is to build the culture of tolerance. And culture of tolerance, you see, let me add this before we go for our break. You see, tolerance, if you don't understand tolerance well, tolerance has a limitation. In Chi, you say, Obiadinilemu. You are here. Live and let's live. That's what it means. Live and let's live. So do your thing, let me also do my thing. There is a gap. The relationship there is not authentic. That's why I use that word facade, and people didn't understand it. I want authentic relationship, which is built on the principles and values of love, mutual understanding, mutual support, sympathy, empathy. You hold with children empathetically. It's empathy that defines the authenticity of any relationship. So, for me, it's not enough that I meet you on the surface. Oh, we are one. Like you are living in a community. Oh, you say we are one. We share the same neighborhood. We eat together. Then one day, my child offends your child. Then I see the way you hold my child. You are prepared even to kill him. So all this time that we are together, I thought you will even look at the way we relate and say, oh, okay, report him to me, and then we see how we can handle. But I'm talking, you will not even look at me at all. Me, my child. In front of me, you are hitting the child. Then I sit back, I'll cringe. I say, hey, so this, the way we are, I thought that even when there's a matter, we'll be able to resolve. But once you refuse, it tells me it's a facade.
On this heavy note, we take our break, and then when we come back, we're going to talk about our Zongo communities and the importance of these communities and how they are used by, or used in quotes, by politicians. We'll be right back after this break. This is a lowdown. My name is Ismail Akwe. Welcome back to the Lowdown. My name is Ni Akwe Ismail Akwe, and our guest is Sheikh Amiao Shaibu. So, Sheikh, are you a product of the Zongo community?
In fact, I'm a Zongo in and out.
Okay.
All my corners is Zongo. I'm a full Zongo breed.
Okay. So, you know, they say Zongo is a migrant community of people from other parts of the northern sector of the country and even other countries like in northern Nigeria and other places. And currently in Ghana, Zongo is synonymous to youth mobilization, where you find the youth in anything political, any organization by any political party, you find a lot of the Zongo youth there. Do you think this is a positive approach to Zongo communities?
Well, it's not positive. It's not positive. We all have come to this level by God's grace. I'll tell you, I'm not any special human being. I'm a full Zongo breed. I belong to the community, those of us who trace our ancestry to the northern part of Nigeria. So people like me are those who are core to the Zongo. So we have the Zongo and we have the core Zongo. The core Zongo. The core Zongo are those, who have come from outside, whose ancestry. So yes, those who largely Hausa. That's why I tell people, Zongo is not an English word. It's not Chi. It's not Dagbani. It's not Wale. It's not Guruni. No, it's Hausa. And once it's a Hausa word, it has an origin. And that origin then defines also who are truly the Zongo people. But as we develop, so it's a transit point, when people, clerics were coming, traders who were coming, to merchants, they were coming, and they were engaging, the big market of Salaga and those things. They were coming to trade. As they come, they settle at a transit point with the intention to go back. But then as market booms and they now continue to remain and they enjoy the environment, they remain. And they give the birth to children, and then also those who came as part of the colonial constabulary, those who came to be enlisted within the army and the police at the time, they were largely people from. So after all those wars, then they remain here. They are the grandparents of those of us who are here today. But because it's supposed to be a transit point, usually they are located at the periphery of town. But they keep on giving birth. They grow. And then as the township grows, they are surrounded, and you finally find them at the center of town. But that because of the way they are seen, the Zongo is a neglected community, marginalized, disrespected. Yeah, so they are left with no facilities, no amenities, no pavements. They are living like that, and then no opportunities. So they live more on the foundation of their cultural values and certain traits. For example, sewing, leather works, wanzam, butchering, and so on and so forth. So those who are not captured within this then remain. There are no schools, and so on and so forth. You see, when you neglect a growing community, you create danger. When you marginalize, you see, when you use these words, they are words. To marginalize, it's a verb. If you marginalize, deprived, marginalized, because somebody is doing the marginalization. It's somebody who is doing the marginalization. Yeah, so you are marginalized, or you are deprived. Somebody has deprived you of what you must get. These things are supposed to really be part and parcel of the growth and development of the community. But when they are denied, you have a certain skewed development.
So
and because of that,
yes,
you find desperation, idleness, poverty, all those things they play into forming the outlook. The outlook. That's why I'm saying people like me are all, we say it's by God's grace and by God's favor.
So this marginalization, could that be the root cause of the
vulnerability?
Yes.
The vulnerability.
Of the youth in the community.
Anytime you subject anybody to a treatment that makes him feel inferior, inferiority is a psychological state. And it manifests through or in different bizarre behavior. Any person who's inferior, test his behavior and see. Because sometimes he wants to prove to you that he is there. He can also act. It's a mark of inferiority. So for a long time, that's how we were made to grow. That's why a very few of us, and in those days, and because of this Christian evangelization, the pioneer Zongo settlers did not like Western education. That's also one of the facts. We didn't like Western education. In fact, as late as the time that I finished Form 4, my father, who is a Muslim cleric, he's not enthused about Western education. And that's also, after Form 4, I remained in the house for six years before. I didn't go to secondary school. So I ended up to becoming a teacher. I have to go to the training college as a Sehuyoso. Even that one, because some other colleague teachers, I was teaching as a people teacher also. So they kept on pushing me to go to school, and I ended up in the training college. I could have fallen by the wayside. I could have become like any other Zongo person. I could have become. That's what I'm saying, is by God's grace. And those who are older than me, many of them also have to lose their religion in the name of education. They want to mission schools, and through that evangelization, they lost their Islamic identities. There are plenty.
These concerns are growing and they are wide. And I'm sure, I'm certain that this is the reason why we have the Ministry of Inner City and Zongo communities. Is that ministry rightfully placed, and have you seen any change since the setup of the ministry?
Well, even before that, we saw some, change, because the Muslim community, young people were becoming more and more confident. Some married parents have understood the need for education and were going to school. And so the number of Muslim middle class, for example, kept on growing. And I think where we are now, you can see we are not there yet, but I think it's encouraging. People like me, of my generation, and those behind me, and those ahead of me, we can see that some. But because the issue of the Zongo became also politically attractive, and at one point, the Zongo people had become conscious of the fact that they were being exploited politically. And so both all the parties were now looking for a way to change their approach to the Zongo community, because they needed also, look, the politicians had done their research, and some of them are talking, is it more than 300 Zongos in the country, or 3,000? I can't remember, I'm not very sure. But the number is big. Your man can check. You can check on your Google. I mean, they have done their research.
I'm sure after the census, we'll get some figures.
The Zongo communities, they are growing. So they have become politically attractive. So politicians want, because they have used us, and to my pain, I say this to my pain. I can't see any of my colleagues or any young generation below me being exploited politically for violence. That for the Zongo to be a source of easy recruitment of young people who are so strong and loyal and courageous, but who can be exploited for violence. I think it's one of the most unfair things that politicians have done to the Zongo. And I say so I'm not talking of one party or the other party. The Zongo young people have been used wrongfully for a long time. But because many of them are disenchanted, they are looking for opportunities. So they hook themselves up to political fortunes. They are expectations. They think if party A comes to power, I will get. And so they go into it. They are very loyal. If party B comes to power, I also get what I want. And that's how come we have, they are now rallying around, if you like, the Zongo Cockles of the NDC, the Nasara Club of the MPP. It has a background. It has a background. It is the platform to mobilize Zongo support for the parties.
Wouldn't policy help solve this problem?
So,
because all these Zongo communities have MPs representing them in parliament, and even the ministry was set up to use policy to solve this problem. So isn't it doing what it's supposed to do?
Actually, I was excited. I saw a certain change in the political direction in the Zongo when the idea of the Zongo ministry came up. I remember one station asked me, what do I feel when it was a campaign something, And I said, well, I have lived in this country across political regimes. I've had promises that have been made without substantial, fulfillment of the promise. So I'm waiting to see. I received some bashing for saying that, Then not too long, then a minister was appointed. Indeed, the minister, when he was going to be vetted, I was there. Because we were all Zongo people and we were keen in that. And I say so without any disappointment. Because, you see, the Zongo blood runs inside me. So I was there. So now they asked me, I said, well, once a minister has been appointed, a minister has been created, and a minister has been put in place, my expectation is that now resources will be made available. It has become something permanent. So we were expecting to see that. And then the Zongo Development Fund was brought in to back it. So our expectations were very high. But if you ask me whether we have really seen the change that one, I said to the larger extent, no. Except that the Zongo Development Fund is still rolling out, but the Zongo Ministry has been scrapped off. In fact, if the president had sought my advice, I would say, Your Excellency, you can scrap the Zongo Ministry, but not now. I would say, not now. Because you have made a promise. So, the Zongo Ministry is a pillar. It's a pillar in the fulfillment of that promise. It's a pillar. And once you cannot measure very well to see the impact it has made, don't scrap it now. Rather, resource it more within the coming 4 years, and let's see where it will be able to reach. If he has asked me, I'll tell him, Your Excellency, you cannot have a permanent Zongo Ministry. I agree. But to scrap it, not now.
I know people in Nima are expecting their city or their town to be a world-class town, because there was a promise in 2019 that it's going to change, it's going to transform, and so far we've not seen much of it.
Much of it.
Yes.
You know, some of the sad things, sometimes I want to be straight in saying things that I know. You see, the Zongo, sometimes politicians have underrated the intelligence of the people of the Zongo. Yeah, for a long time, including our leadership. That's why people like me, politicians are not very comfortable with people like me, because I observe, I study, I express opinion. My opinion is grounded on what I have lived through and I have seen. And then I like to enlighten the folks of the Zongo never to accept the inferior position or become the subjects or objects of exploitation by any, to place them at a disadvantage and exploit our emotions. You know, for a long time, any politician who comes to Zongo, they know our needs for development. They don't do it. Then they come, they wait in Ramadan. In Ramadan, where my eating is supposed to reduce, you are chasing me with food. And they come and they give us food. They know our development needs. It is not being resolved. But to show that they solidarize, in Ramadan, they come with rice. And most of our people, because, when you are deprived, your condition, something token. So they are following us with token gifts. In Ramadan, they will come. If Eid al-Fitr is coming, then they will come. Then they'll give you, for honorable, honorable, he likes Muslims. Honorable, Excellency. They are happy. Then after Ramadan, they leave you there. Your development needs remains unaddressed. Then the second one is Hajj. They leave you there. Your child doesn't go to school. He doesn't have opportunities to get scholarships. They leave the child to be moving around and be taking Indian hemp and other things. Or he becomes a political thug. People are using him. They leave this man, and then they wait until Hajj season is around. Then they come and then they are taking the imams to Mecca. I am a Muslim cleric, and I know what Hajj means. It's a pillar of Islam. And that is why in our religion, you see, Islam is rational. That is why a condition for Hajj is if you can afford. Period.
So is there disunity amongst the Muslim community when it comes to such issues? Because I know there are sects in the religion, and even in Ghana here, Islam has sects. And we've seen a number of issues and problems coming up around these sects. So is it the disunity or is there disunity that's hindering this kind of pushback towards these attitudes that you are getting?
No, I think, well, disunity is one. I mean, disunity is one. I mean, there's no question about it. That's why the current chief imam has been successful in bringing together all the different sects. But hitherto, it used not to be like that. So you have the Ahlus Sunnah, you have the Tijaniya, and you can, if you go back, you can see some of the conflicts. There's no way you can bring Ahlus Sunnah and Tijaniya together, because they belong to different orientations of the Islamic tradition. So they don't. And then you are there. Then the Shiites also come in. Shiites is also different orientation altogether. Though we are all grounded on common foundations, but in terms of manifestation and practice, we are different. So that in itself was a setback to our unity. Then you have ethnicity. We have ethnicity. You know, like I mentioned earlier on, we have those who are the core Zongo. And there are those who speak the Hausa, the Fulani, the Zabarma, and those. And then we have the other side of the Zongo that have come to mix up. These are our brothers, you know, from the northern part of the country, you know, who have come down south. The Zongo become like the safe haven for all Muslims who travel wherever they come. So as people come from the north, you know, so now it has become more cosmopolitan. So you can find the Gurishi is there, the Fulani is there, the Zabarma, the Hausa, the Dagbani, the Gomba people, the Gonja, and so on. And all of them have got their chiefs. And all of them maintain their ethnic and tribal identities. So when it comes to some time, you want to unify them. And in the effort to do so, they have formed what we call the National Council of Zongo Chiefs. In fact, it's an attempt to unify the leadership so that to address development issues. But I don't think that we have succeeded enough to say we are confident. So it's ongoing work. It's an ongoing work which we are trying hard at different levels to now build up the confidence of the Zongo youth, or if you like, the Muslim youth. Let them feel that they also have a contribution to create more opportunities for them. That's why we are now, you know, confronting the politicians and telling them that our boys, these are what they need. Yeah, poverty is a factor, but I don't think that is so much of a hindrance. That is why to really expedite the rate at which we are getting educated. That's why, personally, in fact, without the politics of it, without the politics. So if any viewer listens to me and he shares a different, he pardons me for my support, I don't regret and I don't hide my viewpoint about free SHS. Free SHS. Yeah. I even feel the free SHS is for the Zongo. My view.
They benefit more.
I told you, 1973, when I finished Form 4, it took me 6 years because of the financial situation in the house. You think if at that time it was free SHS, I would have remained in the house. So I am one of the representatives of those who could have lost education because of financial difficulties. I was at one time the CEO of Zakat and Sadaqah Trust Fund. You can see young girls who just want small amount of money to pay for exams fee. They are in the final year. And without paying exams fee, they cannot write the examination. Young girls who could become very productive women in our country. The right to their education because they cannot pay exams fees. Exams fees. I have looked on with pain. You know, to see young girls like my own daughters, who could have grown to become CEOs of organizations, to become good wives, productive members of our community, because there was no money. The teeming youth of the Zongo community will benefit from the free SHS. I'm not doing campaign. But I'm saying, devoid of the politics, I think that it is going to help us to accelerate the rate at which we are getting educated. The more educated we become, the more responsible, the more productive the more resilient we will become, the more conscious we become that nobody can exploit our weakness. I want the young Muslim community to become like me, who are confident, who can see through the issues and address them and build their own future on the basis of their own skills that they have been able to imbibe and the values that we have inculcated in them, the values of hard work, respect, discipline, honesty, sacrifice for one's community. These are the values that we have lost. These values have faded away in our communities and we are suffering. But now if you come to our communities, no respect for elderly. No respect for elderly because of the conditions in which we are. Everybody is disenchanted, disillusioned, and so on and so forth. Yeah, so I think gradually we will get there. Chief Imam is offering us a good leadership, which is bringing us some respectability, some consideration. Every government wants to come to the Chief Imam, and when they come, then the Chief Imam will put the issue before them. I mean, I'm proud to say for once, we were able to get 40 Muslim young people across the country, across the regions of the country, 40 of them selected to go and pursue medicine in Cuba, for example. If we get another 40, wow.
Well, it is very important to note that there are so many young people in Zongo communities who are doing excellently well when it comes to education, when it comes to youth development.
Let me add, look, this time when I watched the television, I see CEO, then I see Muhammad Yusuf, then I see CEO, then I see Mubarak. I said, wow, we are making progress.
So indeed, things are changing.
Yes, in those days, if you hear one before you hear another one, you hear one doctor before you have to search before you can get.
Yes.
You know.
So on a lighter note, let me ask about Eid. I think there's another Eid coming up in July.
Yes.
And are we going to use the National Mosque at Kanda?
The National Mosque is supposed to, not too long from now, it will be commissioned. It will be commissioned. The work is far advanced. It's a very excellent edifice, an architecture of Turkish origin, which is unfamiliar, with which Ghana is not familiar. So it gives, a certain new look, which we are all proud of. We may not do the Eid there. The COVID is around. They said a certain strand has also come, and how do they call it? I can't remember.
That's a Delta variant.
The Delta variant. How it looks like, I'm yet to understand.
Does that mean there might be
the virtual
in homes
because the rules are still there. You can see yesterday when the NDC are doing the march, they were reminding everybody of the COVID.
Yes.
So if politicians are even talking about it, then we the religious people also have to take it seriously. So we are around the 19th or the 20th. We might be celebrating. We are waiting to hear what the government will say. Once the government does not come out with any new rule, the old rule stands. And we want to be as law-abiding as possible. The Chief Imam respects political leadership, and that is his behavior to political leadership is grounded on the Quranic texts that obey Allah and his apostle and people placed in positions of authority. And based on that, the Chief Imam respects the authority of government. So if the government says, old man, I think this Delta thing has come, this variant has come, we want to request you to talk to your people that we will not do this open door celebration again. The Chief Imam will obey, and if it does, we'll advise all Muslims to obey.
Okay.
But if we are told, old man, now you can come out, then that one will go to Independence Square.
A final question.
Right.
If I don't ask this question, I'm sure a lot of people would wonder why I'm not asking it, because it's something that has been discussed widely. So, is there a succession plan for the Chief Imam's office?
This is a topic which I don't want to touch. You know, it is true. I mean, given the Chief Imam's success, his accomplishments, where he's risen to, the kind of leadership he has given, the reverence and the eminence, that he enjoys. Definitely you can find people who want to know. And indeed, not just those who want to know, but there are people who are interested. They think the position has become so lucrative. It's so attractive. It exudes power, influence, and so on and so forth. But I tell you, the office of the Chief Imam did not construct the Chief Imam's eminence. did not, and I'm saying so without any equivocation, the office of the chief imam as an institution, as a structure, did not construct the chief imam's eminence and reverence. It's his person. It's his person. Like I told you, the chief imam is a mystic. So he thinks a lot. Yeah, that's why he has been able to. So there are people who are just interested. I mean, they become attractive. But those who are also genuinely concerned that probably because of the growing interest, if we don't have a succession plan, then it will be a reason for conflagration. I mean, people will just, which can be understood. But if you ask the chief imam this question, the mystic that I know, his answer is that keep on praying. And God himself will select for you somebody better than me. That's what he has said. Sometimes we have cringed when that question, a journalist put that question to him. We were trying to dodge it because of the sensitivity. But one journalist ventured, and once he joined, I just cringed. But I kept silent. Because this one is the old man who has been asked, not me. So kept silent, And he said he never knew he would become the national chief imam. And he has never expected to hear. It is not part of a desire and ambition to become a national chief imam. And he said it's by God's grace and favor. So he told the journalists, let's pray. And his prayer is that God will give us somebody better than him.
So the office will keep to the prayer?
So like, we'll keep on praying.
Okay.
And I believe in prayer. So instead of clamoring, the next chief imam must be somebody who speaks English. Look, we don't need English in this leadership. Chief imam doesn't speak my English, but I'm there around him, supporting him to do his work. The Chinese people don't speak English. Japanese, they don't speak English. Iranians, they don't speak English. They don't speak English. And yet they are able to provide leadership. For me, it is the least on the list of things to consider for our next national chief imam. The values. The values, the cleanness, the purity of his person and his heart, his soul. That is the secret. Who is able to assure us that there's one person who can get all these attributes, that we can depend on him? Chief imam speaks less. He's not loquacious like myself. No.
So is there a committee that would do
that
work?
No committee. We are just allowing the chief imam in the way that he understands his things, and then we keep on. Occasionally, it comes up, then he keeps on giving that advice.
So in his own wisdom, he's going to.
Yeah, and I'm sure God Himself will guide us. Will guide us too. I have this view that there's a secret about why the chief imam. See, for example, age. The chief imam's age is a very big advantage for us. You bring somebody as young as me, who can be insulted by anybody. My cohorts, my generation are there. They see me like an equal. I make any small mistake, they will insult me. But because of his age, that's one factor. It's 102. And everybody who stands in front of him say, our father, our grandfather. In our culture, how we revere age. And that's why when there's an issue and he comes in, he's pure. He's grounded himself in spirituality. And that's why many people see that position as sacred. There are those who look at it more from a physical material point of view. Oh, if you go there, you get influence. But the sacredness, the halo of the place. For me, those are the things I consider most important. All other things are secondary.
Okay, so what are your final words to our viewers? And I'm sure they enjoyed a lot of what you've said, and they were
as a nation, let's be proud of Ghana. We've not reached there yet. We've not reached the level of development we want to see. Yes, but it's work in progress. Let's be thankful to God. Where God lifted us from to where we are. There were some years when Ghana was still enjoying this country. I traveled to Burundi or where, and I saw the state of development. I say, wow. Ghana, we have to be thankful to God. That's one. Two, Ghana is peaceful. You see, I will say that let us not underrate our peace. Yes, there are pockets of incidents that are happening in place, but they have not reach a point where we can describe Ghana as a violent country or a country that is not peaceful. White people are moving in this country 12 midnight, 1 a.m. They are walking out on our streets. They are walking. People are sleeping outside. But as a community, as a nation, yeah, aberrations. You can find elements who are criminals. You see them here and there. So one policeman will be shot over there. Then you see criminals who will attack a bus there. But these things are not enough to say Ghana is not peaceful. And I think we need to be thankful to God. But let's work hard and improve upon it. Those gaps, let's work on them. For example, our police, to what extent they need to be retooled. Additionally, the new skills they need for crowd control, so that at the least of this thing, we don't lose a life, shoot somebody or one or two people will die, then become a reason for us, we are doing elections. Every approach of elections, we are in tension. How should we improve our electoral system so that we save ourselves this tension that comes at any time election is approaching? We want to be as comfortable as peace in our minds. I think these are the things that together, if we work at it, we will sustain our peace and we will see faster. I call on all citizens to be honest to the service of our country. Let's eschew corruption. Let's be honest in doing what it takes to move our country forward. Let's have a little bit sense of sacrifice. Let's do politics of integrity. Politics of integrity, where we see politics only as a means to obtain political power to render service to our country, not to make money.
Thank you very much for coming, and want to thank you also for watching. This is The Lowdown. You can watch us every Monday on all of GhanaWeb's digital channels. My name is Ni Akwe Ismail Akwe. Be safe.
It's often said that a photo is worth 1,000 words, and memories are timeless treasures of the heart. In this edition of People and Places, my guest and I will take you back in time to experience some of these beautiful memories. We are at the oldest photo studio in Ghana, located in Jamestown in Accra. And this place has some of the most interesting photographs and memories you could ever think of. I have some wonderful people who would help us go through these photos and tell us the story and history behind the establishment of this place. I am Wanda Amihegan, and thank you for making time with us on this episode of People and Places. After the break, we'll meet our guests and get right into the gist. Welcome back. Thank you for staying with us. So our guest is Mrs. Kate Tamaklo. She's the granddaughter of J.K. Bruce Vanderpoy, the owner of this studio. And now she's in charge of running and manning the place to ensure that it's in good shape and available for you and I, to have access to it. So we are having a conversation with her, and thank you again for having us here. You have a wonderful place.
For coming.
Great. Okay, so I just want to know how old this studio is.
We are in 2021, so Diogratia's studio is 98 now.
98.
Turning 99 in November. and 100 next year.
Wow. This is way older than, it was established way before some of us were born.
Established in 1920.
And yet it still looks good. You're doing well with keeping the place,
Thank you.
I must say. Tell us a little about the studio. You've told us when it was established, but who established it?
It was established in 1922 by my grandfather, J.K. Bruce van der Poel.
Who was he?
My grandfather was a photographer. He started taking photos when he was 23.
Okay.
He had a passion for taking photographs of people, you know, and then he was able to establish the photo studio in 1922 and called it Diogratias Studio.
Okay.
Which means in Latin, thanks be to God.
Okay.
So he was finally able to establish it, which excited him. So he named it Diogratias, meaning thanks be to God.
Okay. But why did he name it Diogratias?
Well, I wasn't there, but my dad did tell me that he had a very difficult childhood. You know, his parents were not very wealthy. You know, so when he took to photography and he realized, he could afford to buy a camera and take pictures of people and earn a living, he was excited. So he decided to thank God by naming it Diogratias, which means thanks be to God.
Okay, and what was his motivation?
I think he admired what people wore, what he could see. You know, it was like, I think I can take pictures of all these people and, you know, look at them later. People would come in and he would share what he took or the experience he had at either a festival or some other place of interest.
Okay. Was your grandfather Ghanaian?
Yes, 100%.
Okay, then it was an interesting choice of a name. You know, a Ghanaian naming his studio in Latin.
Yes, I don't know the history very well, but I think those days, you know, Latin played a large role as well in the English language, you know, so he must have picked it from there. Okay. I'm assuming, yeah. Okay,
but do you know when he took the first photo?
Ooh.
You know,
1922 is a long time ago. You know, I've seen a lot of very old pictures in the archives. You know, but which particular picture he took in that year will be difficult to tell.
Okay.
Yes, but I look at them and I look at their hairstyle and the clothes they wear, and I assume maybe amongst 100, one of them was the first.
Okay.
Yeah.
When did your grandfather stop taking pictures altogether? Do you know that?
I think that must have been in the late or early 80s.
Okay.
Yes, when his health, you know, he wasn't too well.
Oh, okay.
You know, that is when I believe he stopped taking photographs, because going out, you know, was not easy for him. Yeah. And
from that time, did he hand over to anybody?
Yes, he did hand over to my dad. You know, my dad was the engraving manager at GTP. Okay. You know, he was in charge of the print on the Dumas, what do you call it? The Dumas print. Yeah. He was in charge of that in the engraving department. So when
your dad's name is?
I.H. Bruce van der Poel.
Okay.
Isaac Hudson, Bruce van der Poel. So when his dad, when he was beginning to get much older and not too well, he asked his son, please, you need to come back to the studio and help me, you know, or more or less take over the studio and continue what he started.
Okay.
Yes.
Was your dad the first son, or
no?
Like, why did he have to take over? And did your grandfather have any other children who helped with the studio?
Yes, my dad was sent abroad by Kwame Nkrumah to study photography.
Okay.
You know, so obviously he knew what it was all about. So that's why he asked him in particular to come back. My uncle also studied photography, but he was younger. No, sorry, he was older. You know, but I don't know, he just chose my dad to come in. But they did work together for some time.
Your uncle and your dad?
Yes, and my dad, yes.
Okay, and where are they now?
My dad is 86 and he's doing fine.
Okay.
But unfortunately, my uncle passed on several years ago.
Okay,
Yeah.
so your dad handed over to you.
Yes, unfortunately, he's suffering from glaucoma.
Okay.
You know, so obviously he cannot see the lovely pictures anymore. So I am in charge at the moment. But if I'm able to describe the pictures very well, you know, we still talk about them. Yeah.
Okay. And before we end and go through the photographs around here, it's been, you mentioned, over 90 years.
Exactly.
You know, do people still come here?
People, there are two categories of people that come here. You have those who are from the immediate surrounding. They still come in to take maybe their passport pictures, or maybe there's a festival happening around and they are all dressed up. So they come in and have their photograph taken. And then there are the tourists who come around, you know, want to know about the studio, the history, you know, so those are the other category of people who come here. Or there are students, foreign students who are working on their thesis, you know, then they come in here, or research, you know, and then we help them with that.
You mentioned people come here to take photographs from
Yes.
time to time.
Yes.
That means you still have
Yes.
photographers. Like
Oh,
who,
yes.
who does the picture taking now?
Oh, there's a lady here we have, she's called Charity. She does very good, she does very well. You know, they come in all dressed up and she takes their photograph.
So we have like studio photographs
Yes.
and passport pictures.
Yes.
Okay.
Some people also come in and ask her to go into the field. Maybe there are parties happening, engagements, you know, then she goes with them.
to capture the moment.
Yes, exactly.
Okay.
So
Okay.
the studio has never really shut down.
That's great to know.
Yeah.
And talking about tourists, which kind of people come here more often? Are they foreigners, or do Ghanaians patronize this place a lot?
Not so much Ghanaians, you know. Usually the Ghanaians would come with the foreigners because they have expressed interest. Yes. So I must say very few Ghanaians, you know, come in here to have a look at the pictures. But when they do come in, they're very fascinated.
Okay.
Yeah.
I've seen a lot of photos. I'm sure there are a lot more,
Oh, yes.
you know, in the archives. And we'll get into that a little after the break. But thank you for sharing the story about your grandfather and the establishment of this place. It's an
Thank you.
interesting story.
Thank you.
All right. And so that's Mrs. Tamaklo telling us a little bit about this place. But there's more. So stay with us as we go for this quick break. We'll be right back.
Hi, my name is Nanama McBrown. I'm proud to be part of GhanaWeb Road Safety Campaign. Please, do the right thing. Save a life. Brim.
This is still People and Places. Thank you for staying with us. And now we are going to do a tour of the gallery. We just want to see some of the, you know, historical pictures they have here. Each picture has a story and has a memory, and we are going into that. To help us do that, we have Kofi Yeboah here. He has been working here for a while, and he's also a historian. And so he'll help us do that. How are you, sir?
Very good.
Great. And so how long have you been here?
Okay, I think my outings to actually get pictures to complement the story I was doing on Kwame Nkrumah brought me a couple of days ago, a couple of years ago, and from that time on, you know, I'm so much in love with these black and white pictures, the histories behind them, because trust me, this pictures actually chronicles the history, in fact, the modern history of the Gold Coast, from 1922 into the 50s, Kwame Nkrumah's birth. In fact, there are pictures here. Kwame Nkrumah at 17 years old, Kwame Nkrumah at Chimota and all of that. So yes, it's fascinating, and from that time on, I've not been able to let it go.
So it means you've had some of the pictures here complement your
Absolutely,
your work.
yes. I have a large book on Kwame Nkrumah called Kwame Nkrumah, the man who took the first piece of Britain's African empire. And most of the pictures here are from the studio.
Wow. Would have a look at that book. But for now, we just want to see what we have here.
Okay, So this is Opera Cinema, this is Orion Cinema. These were a chain of cinemas dotted around the country those times, you know, Picona, some in the northern region, and all over. And so these are pictures that were taken at the time. I think until the advent of all this cheap, if you like, Panasonic's, VCR and stuff, all this, how do you call it, cinemas are now gone into obscurity. So this is Jamestown as it was probably in the 30s into the 40s. The slave trade was over. These were piers that were made to bring cocoa and palm oil from the hinterlands to the coast to be transported to Europe and all of that. So this is a beehive of activity. You still will see these piers, you know, there today, though there is a, you know, that sort of renovation going on. So this is what Jamestown looked like. This could be a regatta. This were the spectators, and I think you still have this raised, if you like, platform today, and that's what the picture looks like at the time. And all these ones are done. In fact, they are down now, and you only see a representation of this metallic structure. You know, now this is glamour, as we know. It's this how they call it, shops at Mokola. This is what it looks like at the time. Now this is Macmillan, British Prime Minister, the wind of change in South African Parliament. He was here in the Gold Coast, and at the time you have this boat, if you like, boat riders or boatsmen who goes deep into the sea and brings in the passenger, carrying the passenger, because the ship wouldn't come so much to shore, that way it's going to shipwreck. And so it is going to park in the roads, and then these men are going to have an empty chair, hoist you on it and bring you. So this is Macmillan here at Jamestown. Now, so this is the old Parliament with Kwame Nkrumah's statue in front of it. Then you come to this one quickly. This is Kwame Nkrumah in Ghana's first beauty pageant, Madam Monica Amekwefia, in 1957. As part of the independence celebrations, there was the Miss Ghana beauty pageant.
In 1957?
Absolutely. And the one who won it was Madam Monica Amekwefia. And they always actually had their number 9, if you like, thing from her, because her number was number 9, she was an Ewe. And so number 9 is not probably the thing about the 9th region on the, this is just Madam Amekwefia who wore the number, absolutely, she was Ewe. So Ghana's first beauty pageant was an Ewe. And then this is, what's the name, Holy Spirit, is it? This cathedral, Trinity Cathedral, that is some few minutes walk from here. This is what it looks like. You can see the beach in the background. This is a picture, this is a deeply relevant picture that was taken in 1948. Now, this is what you could call the nationalists of the Gold Coast, who were made to appear before what we call the Western Committee. The Western Committee was invited into the Gold Coast in 1948 by the British colonial administration to actually investigate the disturbances on 24 February 1948. They actually saw the death of, what's the name, Sergeant Ajete, Corporal Tipu, and all of that. And so these are the Gold Coast nationalists at the time, those who the colonial government actually seized as being the reason why that disturbance actually happened. Now, this is J.B. Dankwa. This is Kwame Nkrumah. Now, this is Akufo-Addo's dad, called Edward Akufo-Addo. So this is Akufo-Addo's uncle.
And then dad.
And this is Akufo-Addo's mom. And this is their lawyer called Dingle Foot. Dingle Foot is a British lawyer who came representing them. This is Akwa J. This is Thurston Kofi. This is Awuno, and all of that.
So many great people in one picture.
Absolutely. So in this picture, our current president, this Mr. Vivian, and a businessman who was part of the Gold Coast, how do you call it, a nationalist effort and arrangement. And so this picture was taken before they appeared at the Western Committee. At the Western Committee, left Kwame Nkrumah with the baby and water in his hand, because they said until he arrived in the Gold Coast on the 24th of December 1947, everything was not what it was at the time. The nationalist zeal and fervor was not in there. So this is a historic picture that was taken before that. Our current president alone had about 3, if you like, relations in there. That's the mother who gave birth to him. That's his dad, and that's the great granduncle or something. Now, this picture was taken in
Independence Day.
1957, but not 6 March. Because this picture was taken midnight, that's the 5th of March. That's what we call the Polo Grounds. And this picture is peculiar because Mr. Van der Poel was there, and he did it by himself, and it has not actually found its way probably on the internet.
So this is not the normal we see.
This is the picture, but with a different angle. See Kwame Nkrumah with the hand. You understand? and see how this Krobedu say, this Kujubutiu, and then this
so he was there to witness it himself.
Yes, he was there. Yes, he was there himself. Yes.
Great.
So forget about this. How do you call it? The story on the ex-servicemen's program that actually brought the Western Committee in. We are just told by Madame that her father happened to be a friend of J.B. Dankwa. And so when this happened, J.B. Dankwa immediately called in the studio.
J.K. Bruce was a friend of J.B.
Yes. And J.K. Bruce was on the spot at the crossroads where there was blood in the sand. Apparently, Imre, the police superintendent, has shot into this crowd that were demonstrating peacefully to see how they call it, the governor. He must have been very brave then. Absolutely. So we are told he actually came into the studio to pick pictures and any evidence he could find to actually help their case before the Western Committee. And this is the man who did all of this, who actually gave us the opportunity of the 20s, the 30s, the 40s, the 50s, the 60s, and what it says with Gold Coast modernity. Absolutely, yes. Okay. And that's Anticate's dad. That's Mr. Isaac Hudson van der Poy, who continues this legacy. And so from here, you're going to see pictures that actually, like chronicle.
Just before you go on, I see a younger version of him.
Yes.
Was this?
I think when he's he might have been in Germany, because he did a photographic program in Germany sponsored by Kwame Nkrumah. So that picture might have been taken in Germany. Right. And so yes, you're going to find these pictures that will give us a certain degree of historical chronology of the Gold Coast. It was not all that people think it was. It was a society of, if you like, men and women who knew what time it is or what time it was within that time frame. And so at the time, what it was is that photography was a big deal. And so if you find someone taking pictures, what it means that the person is well-to-do. And photography was centered here on the coast. And so it could have been difficult for Mr. Van der Poy to go into Hinterland, probably Kumasi, the northern region, and take pictures and stuff. And so most of these pictures are spelling what it was with the thing of influence and big manism and that sort of thing. So you're going to see Red Spots band, you're going to see E.T. Menson's band and all of that. And I'm telling you, at the time, this was privilege. Okay, now this is Kwame Nkrumah again at Achimota, and the year is 1929. And this is young Kwame Nkrumah. Yeah, that's a rare photo. Absolutely, yes. And so Bruce van der Poy was at Achimota, probably the official photographer of Achimota School, and he was able to see Kwame Nkrumah when he came to Achimota very new, when he was about 17 years old, freshly fetched from the forest of Nkrofo, throughout his time and becoming prime minister, coming back. Now look at this picture over there with the rest of the, how do you call it, Ghanaian statesmen. Very young man. And so this man saw Kwame Nkrumah like this. In fact, I have a picture of him in this Ntoma stuff. He saw Kwame Nkrumah this way, and then this guy was in the States for 10 years, was in the UK for 12 years, came back, and this man was still taking photos. So you can imagine, from one end to the other. And I believe in 1972, when Kwame Nkrumah died, J.K. Bruce van der Poy was still alive. Yeah. Okay, so these are musical bands. This is a picture of Akwaje. Akwaje reputed to be the man who actually gave the idea about Kwame Nkrumah coming in. This is a picture of probably some colonial officials or some members of the Asian community, which was very huge here in the Gold Coast and all of that. This is the Jamestown chief called Nia Bebiu. Okay, this could be some society brothers and all of that. So, and this is the chief of how do you call it? This is again Mancha Bebiu with colonial authorities. I can see Governor Hutchison, who was the governor of the British governor of the Gold Coast some time ago. And then you have this beautiful background that most pictures were taken against. Like this little girl. This girl sat on this very chair and took this picture. So the chair is still here. It could be in the 30s or something. And this could be the daughter of some colonial official somewhere. You understand? This is a picture that was taken in someone's home, probably a certain ruling family. And then
I assume this chair is also as old as
exactly. These are all historical pieces that shouldn't be allowed to actually pass under the carpet that way. And you have some secret societies, like this is the Independent Order of Good Templars. Yes, taken in the 30s. This is a girls' guide sort of group. And then there's a famous picture of a judge called Manu Plange. Manu Plange was, I think, a justice of the Supreme Court. There's a picture of a family recently some people are coming in, they are able to identify their forebears within their fathers and their mothers are all in this picture and that sort of thing. Yeah, so this studio is speaking loudly, a language that you'll not be able to hear until those who have the nexus comes in. People are coming in, they're telling you, please, this is my grandmother, this is my grandfather, and all of that. I'm holding this, how they call it, a collage, because I wanted to show you JB Dankwa. Okay. So JB Dankwa was in the studio. This is him fully in his loyalty. Studio? Yes. Okay. He's a friend to the founder of the studio, J.K. Brew. So he was here. These pictures were taken in the studio. That's him. Wow. Yes. This one probably outside, yes. In his heyday. Yeah. And what it is that he was a good friend to the old man, and so that was an opportunity for the old man to explore, get to places that he wouldn't have been able to get to without that sort of connection. So yes. What would you tell me are some of the biggest events that J.K. Bruce covered? 5th March 1957, Polo Grounds. Okay. The other one is the visit of the Queen in the 60s. Okay. You understand? Another one could be, how do you call it, the coming in of the British Prime Minister. What I have shown you before we got to this place, and many if you like, occasions that we've not been able to capture. Not only capture, but to discover. Because like Auntie Kate is telling you, these pictures were taken on glass plates. Okay, so what exactly does it mean to capture pictures on a glass plate? Okay, yes, so this is what a glass plate looks like. And so glass plates probably was the beginning of the processing that is going to give you the picture it should give you. And so this is a picture that is printed and is in this studio. And so I'd like you to see this picture. And so this is the Kolebu laundry. And so look at it. So this is what it is. This is the negative, if you like, but we call it glass plate. We're not calling it film like it used to in the 90s into the 2000s. And so this is a glass plate. That is the picture that is printed over there. And that's the image of? Yes. Of which facility? This is what we call the Kolebu laundry. And I think it's still present. Okay. Yes. So the picture we'll get on this one. Then after the processes, you get it that way. And so we came to meet what you call the negatives that could be rolled into your pocket or into a little receptacle. But this one is this way, stern and hard as anything. Okay, so there was this one before there was a film. Absolutely, absolutely, yes. Today they are all out of use. And so this is where, if you like, the exposure or the processes that is going to lead to the final print are done on the glass plate. So this is the machine. Absolutely, this is the machine that was used to do the exposure. And I think with some other processes in the dark room, then ultimately you're going to get your black and white picture the way it is today. So yes, the Dio Gratias is hugely, if you like, a repository of not only ancient history, but modern history, modern gold coast history, and I think we should not lose sight of that. You mentioned a number of big events J.K. Bruce covered. Yes. But did he happen to be at any events when the revolution was happening? I think his son did. Auntie Kate's dad, Isaac Hudson, did. Yes. We have seen pictures of President Rawlings and Carline, all of that, and so that could be the subject matter of a different day. Yes. So this is the Queen's visit here in the Gold Coast, and again, J.K. Bruce Vanapper was there, exposing how they call it, pictures for the benefit, for the benefit of us today. These are beautiful pictures of probably Ghanaian maidens. Recently, this headgear or headwear became a subject of scrutiny. We are all like, how did this one come about? The thing looks like a coconut husk salt, but somewhere along the line, a mushroom. Yes, we are able to learn this is a combination and overuse, if you like, over time, putting together of hairs and creams in them and stuff like that. They get that one. And so the women of the times will wear this one before they are seen as, if you like, as modern as they could be. There is another picture that Auntie Kate keeps on, if you like, narrating to us about this British soldier, the first Ghanaian man to be commissioned into the British Army. And this picture was here. The daughters came around and immediately got it. They said, this is me, and this is my dad. And so that's the fascination this studio actually gives. This is Kwame Nkrumah, the height of his powers. And you see Krobo Edusei, you see Afrogbedi, the Minister of Finance, and all of them. Krobo Edusei at the time was the Minister of Agric. And so you see, I think, a minister without portfolios. So these are Coco and that sort of thing. Yes, this a boxing fraternity. Yes, this is what we call the Stand Fast Sports Association. that was established in 1947. I think it's out of style and fashion. And so now this is Stanley Matthews, a renowned British footballer who visited, I believe, the National Sports Council at the time.
Okay.
Now, this picture is very historical. Why is it so? This picture might have predated independence 1957 and all of that, because you find Governor Hodgson and all of them here. You understand? This is probably the Joint Provincial Council of whatever it is, or what it was, if you like, a mixture of colonial administrators and Gold Coast representative ruling the Gold Coast. So immediately you see J.B. Dankwa. Where are you? This is J.B. Dankwa. So J.B. Dankwa was
at
part
the back
of, exactly,
there.
yes. He was a Gold Coast elite. He was a lawyer. He was looked up to when matters of Gold Coast actually services and stuff like that.
Okay.
And so this picture is immensely relevant and deeply historical. And then again, this is a businessman. I'm told, is it Pambros? Leventis, I think they are Greeks. Okay, so this is chief. This is the Minister of Finance, Agbeli Bedema. This is the French ambassador. This is Achimhene Oforiata.
Okay.
This is J.K. Bruce Van der Poy, the founder of the Dio Gratia Studio on his horseback. And this is a picture of the Dio Gratia Studio itself.
Okay.
Yeah.
But does J.K., I mean the son of J.K.,
Yes.
Isaac,
Yes.
does he have a photograph here with Mrs. Kate?
With the daughter?
Tamaklo,
There are a lot
yes.
of pictures, family pictures. I think she will have to fetch one for you shortly.
Okay.
There is a picture of their dad, their mom, and all of that.
Right.
Okay. Good. These are family pictures. This is probably a depot right, or if you like, Samotofuyo right. Right, that are held for girls who are actually getting into their puberty. And that sort of thing. Then there's a picture everybody loves. This is a picture of a Jamestown Queen with her attendant taken in the 1930s.
Jamestown Queen?
Yes.
Oh, so this is how the culture was at the time?
Absolutely. Her attendants, most of them goes bare-chested and that sort of thing. And wherever they go, if you read the history of the Akaibi, you actually understand what I'm saying. Women actually go along with the queen and they attend to her and that sort of thing. Yes. So Kwame Nkrumah again with the queen of the British queen and head of the Commonwealth, with the husband Prince Philip who died recently, and then with the mayor of Accra at the time. Okay. Now again, this picture has here the father and mother of the former mayor of Accra, the mother of the former mayor of Accra, Nunu Abate Ifiu. He came into the studio recently and he was able to identify that. And then again, the mother of the former chairman of the CPP, and his name is Ladin Islander. Yes. So again, it is not too far away from us. You understand?
You've shown us around and giving us a bit of history. I'm actually in a history class today.
Sure.
But do you happen to know how many photos in total you would have? Of course, the photos displayed here may just be a part of what you have. There are others in the archives which cannot fit in here. But would you have an idea?
Yes, Auntie Kate has, if you like, so much on a laptop. She scanned some of this glass plate. I think she was able to get access to a printer, or if you like, scanner that could actually do this trick about the glass plate. So she's been able to scan most of them and they are sitting on her system. There are pictures, she just pops up and it's like, you know, you never believe or you never knew this was part of the collection. So yes, and again, like I said earlier, most of the glass plates, because those who lived around did not know or understood its essence whatsoever it is, most of them have been destroyed. But apart from that, she has pictures that we can fall on, to tell a very strict chronological history of the Gold Coast from the 1920s.
Over 400, maybe 500 pictures here?
If I'm not going to exaggerate, to over 1,000. Pictures taken from 1922 to the 70s into the 80s, when Rollins had his school and all of that. This is a whole this is a whole museum, if you like. So
Okay, so Kofi, you've told us a lot about this historic edifice. And the number of photos we have here. But I think I've seen some cameras in this cabinet of glass. Can you tell us a little about them? Which of them was used by J.K. Bruce, which of them was used by Isaac, and do you know their functions, if I may ask?
Okay. That's a tall order, and that's a task that probably Antiquates will be able to, do us the honor. But this way, you could be able to, say today that these cameras are antiquated, but in their time, they were the best, camera, photo pieces and that sort of thing. Yes, I believe these cameras that were older than this one were used by J.K. Bruce Vanderpoy, and this ones might have been used by his son, because this one looks a bit modern than what is up there. Yes, and trust me, in those times, this could be the best you actually could lay hands on to take pictures. And so, from the shutter speed of these cameras, we have all the pictures we have here and probably beyond. And again, at the time, trust me, it's a big deal to actually have such pieces of machines or machinery that could capture images the way they did now. So you might be looking at them this way, but trust me, they have done a human's job and help us to actually get a peep into what it was in the past, which is so important. We were not there, but today we have seen what happened, in the times, and we can put our pencil through it and if you like, string it beautifully as we've been able to see it today. Yeah.
Right. That's a lot of details about what you have here in the studio.
Sure.
But there's still more here on the show. We give you everything you need to know. We don't just serve you half of the details. So there's still more. We have another wonderful person who will be speaking to shortly. But Kofi, thank you for sharing this bit of history with us.
Cheers. I'm a friend to the studio.
Great.
And trust me, there is no place here in this country that you can be able to find such collection.
Thank you once again. I have with me Mr. Daniel Awule Tete. He is also a historian and an archivist. He has some more details to tell us and give us context and perspective as far as these pictures are concerned. Welcome to the show, sir.
Thank you very much.
And many thanks for speaking to us.
Thank you.
What do the pictures here represent for Ghana?
Right. The pictures here are very important for the history of the Gogos, what used to be the Gogos and it's now Ghana. Right? You see that all the pictures here can be put into 3 categories.
Okay.
1, political pictures. 2, economic pictures.
Okay.
3, socio-cultural pictures. And I would like to give a little bit of historical details, with regard to the 3 categories that I've given you.
Okay.
Now, first, we must know why this place is called Jamestown and what Jamestown actually stood for. During the pre-colonial, colonial, and then the independence and post-independence, right? Jamestown was established as far back as 1672 by a British company called the Company of Royal Adventurers of England Trading with Africa. Now that company was started by the King of England called King Charles II to supply 3,000 African slaves to the British West Indies and the Americas. So they had a mission, the company had a mission for coming here. Now, the leader of the company was called James Stuart. James Stuart was the brother of King Charles, and he happened to be the largest shareholder in the company. So he was made the governor of the company. So when they landed, it's a long story, but I'll try and make it very brief for you. When they landed here, they got the land which belonged to a clan called the Sempe clan. some people had their deity there called Oyeni, which is still there.
Okay.
But then the agreement was that they would be allowed every year to go and worship their god, which was inside the fort. Right? So when the fort was completed, it was named after James. And that's how we got the name Jamestown. Of course,
right.
Yes. There had been another Jamestown in the US. Right? But that one is spelled Jamestown as one word. Okay. But this one is James, one word, and town, one word.
The town of James.
Yes, the town of James. And normally we would like to distinguish between Jamestown in the US and Jamestown in Ghana. So we call it Jamestown, British Accra.
Okay.
So most of the old folks know this place as Jamestown, British Accra. Jamestown, British Accra, because there was Dutch Accra, which is the next, European colony.
Okay.
Dutch Accra, established by the Netherlands, and that's where we have the Fort Quebecois, which is now known as the Usher Fort. Then there was another European colony, which was the Danish Accra, and that's where we have the Christiansborg Castle.
Okay.
Right? Of all these three colonies, Jamestown became the primus inter pares because the English wanted to build Jamestown as a demonstration of British power and majesty and trade.
Okay, Mr. Tete.
Yeah.
That's you going into details about Jamestown. But we want to take that, I think it's a whole story on its own.
Yes.
The history of Jamestown.
Yes.
And we'll get into that in maybe in another subsequent episode.
Yeah.
But you mentioned in the beginning of the conversation, you mentioned three separation. So three things that the pictures represent.
Right.
You mentioned economic, you mentioned political.
And
can you delve into details?
Yes. Politically, these pictures, or some of these pictures depict the struggle for independence. Now, Kwame Nkrumah was, we've been told, was part of the Big Six. Now, after the 28th February shooting, the Big Six were arrested, and some were put at Usher Fort, and then some were put at James Fort. Kwame Nkrumah was put at James Fort, and it was there that when the elections were held in 1954 or so, he won, and then he was released to come and form the government machinery, right? So that is a bit of the political history that I'm talking to you about. Then Kwame Nkrumah stood at Jamestown. By then it was known as Asedu Keteke. He stood there to contest the election, right? He stood there to contest the election. Then some of the important events that took place in the political struggle took place in Jamestown, a particular place called Palladium. I don't know whether you've heard of the Palladium Cinema. These were some of the places where they were holding some of their meetings, right? And so Jamestown played a very important role in the political development and organization of Accra, right? Then economically, because the harbor was here, Jamestown became the beehive of economic activities. 24/7, there's community that never slept. Ships were coming, goods were coming, cocoa, manganese, everything was passing through Jamestown, right? And that brought about a whole gamut of life, nightlife, CV hotel, people were enjoying themselves on weekends. There were bands playing GT, Mensa, Ramblers, and what have you. And you had all kinds of people, in Jamestown. Then there was, how will I describe it? A very good transport system where the workers those working in the harbor and then those who were doing all kinds of businesses were all coming to Jamestown, right? So the transport system was said that it was so good, there were buses, going around, from Jamestown to the outskirts, Choko, and then to Labadi, and then back, right? 24 hours, right? We had the harbor police, the marine police. All these people were in Jamestown. Then finally, as far back as 1672, this leader of the Alata people called Osho, whose name was later on changed to Ochekojo, became so influential that he asked his English masters, please, can you get me a school for my people? You people are well educated, and that's why you've managed to come all the way from England to this place to come and trade with us. Can I have a school to have my people educated? So the first school, public school in the Gogos was established in Jamestown, which became known as the Accra Royal School. You see some of the pictures of the Accra Royal School, maybe in your subsequent listing. So Accra Royal School became the first public school. Not that there was no education or there was no schooling, but the education that existed before the coming into being of Accra Royal School was for the children of mixed races. Okay. The white people, who married the Africans, and then they had children. The people we call the mulattoes. See, so they were being given education within the forts and castles. So the other people did not have access to formal education. So Accra Royal School came into being and changed all this. Okay. Right, and the school was called Accra Royal School because it was named after the company of royal adventurers of England trading with Africa.
Let's talk a little about the socio-economic.
Yeah, the socio-cultural. And like I've said, with the economic activities came the social activities, because the way of life of the people, had to be maintained. Right, and so the culture of the people, marriages, pregnancy, childbirth, outdooring, festivals, all these things were taking place within the context of the development of Jamestown. Okay. And these were some of the things which fascinated, the owner of Dio Grata Photo Studio. He didn't want these things to pass by. Right, much as he was capturing pictures on the political and economic, development, he was also interested in the social development of the people, especially the rituals pertaining to Homowo Festival, the outdooring, Ojura Festival, the Twin Festival, anything which has to do with the social and cultural development of the people. Fascinated him, and he had to, capture this permanently, right? So maybe in future, if you come here, you will see some of these pictures.
Talking about books, Mr. Tete and Mr. Yeboah, who we spoke to earlier, they have a book, and it's a historical piece that everyone should try to get a copy of. But like you heard, he's been talking about the history of Jamestown and putting some of the pictures here in perspective. So we'll just hold on to the Jamestown story for later when we'll have time to actually go into the history of Jamestown. But thank you very, very much, Mr. Tete, for speaking to us. We're grateful for your time. So I'm sure we've all learned something intriguing from Mr. Tete, but the history bit of it will be tackled, in another episode of this show. You get it right here. So just keep watching People and Places, our subsequent episodes, and you get all the information you need. But we are wrapping up, and we'll just have a brief conversation with Mrs. Tamaklo. We want to find out what plans she has and for this studio, because it's a magnificent place, and she probably has plans to renovate or expand this business. So let's speak to her. So, Mrs. Tamaklo, this place is still in shape, but you know, time has gone past, and you're trying to, I think Kofi mentioned that you're trying to scan some of the pictures,
yes,
and other things. But do you have any plans for your studio to expand it, to make it bigger, to get more people interested in coming to see what you have here?
Definitely. One of my the things I'd really like to do is to print and publish several coffee table books, because there's so many pictures in the archive. You know, I think that's the best way to display them and portray them and show them off in coffee table books. Yeah.
Coffee table books?
Yes.
What are those?
Those are books, you know, very large books where you have pictures, you know, of the studio that describe them and tell a bit of history.
Okay.
You know, that you can find probably in companies on their center table or anywhere you go. You know, people can just flip through. You know, you don't need to tell a long story, just a picture and what it's about.
Okay.
Yeah.
And when people come here, do they just come to look at the pictures, or do they come to buy some of the pictures for their works?
Yes, most people come to look at it and they would like to buy it as well, you know, but for me, I hesitate to sell the pictures. You know, I would want to put them in the book, so there are several of them, and then you buy the entire book.
Okay.
But we've sold a few. You know, people have been very persistent and want to have the photo for their project. Okay. So we have sold a few in the past.
Okay, so when should we be looking forward to this project?
We are celebrating our 100 years next year, and obviously before that time, we hope, with the help of Kofi and Mr. Tete, be able to put together a few books before 2022.
Mrs. Tamaklo, before I leave you, your dad handed over this business to you.
Yeah.
Do you have plans to train somebody new? Are any of your children into photography? Do you intend to hand over to them? Who do you think will take charge when you are unavailable?
Yeah, that's a big question. You know, I have been so excited myself, you know, getting involved, scanning and, you know, doing all sorts of things with the pictures where I think very little about that. But I have to know that we are all mortals, you know. My children, you know, they have little interest, you know.
Okay.
But sometimes they do express that interest, you know. I still hope to get them on board.
Okay.
You know, get them a little more interested and have a fourth generation.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
Yes, inherit it and probably do other things, you know.
Okay.
But I also hope to extend this place, probably build it, you know, build a few more floors, because there's so many pictures and we need walls to display them.
Yeah.
You know, so have probably every floor with a different theme, you know, that people could come in and be told the story. Yeah.
It's been wonderful speaking to you and your team, and we are grateful for your time. Thank you so much.
Thank you for coming in.
And so that's how we wrap up another edition of People and Places here on GhanaWeb TV. It's been my pleasure bringing you this episode, and thank you for making time to join all of us to hear these beautiful narrations. Until we meet in another exciting edition, stay safe and take care. I am Wanda Amihagan.
To maintain sustainable and efficient public spending. 3, combat corruption and reduce inequality. 4, prevent and manage conflicts. And 5, increase and deepen transparency in electoral processes and increase the participation of women in politics. These concerns are by no means exhaustive. Obviously, citizens are becoming somewhat dissatisfied with many aspects of governance and are therefore eager to take active part in the day-to-day governance of the country. They want to play a more active role in shaping, delivering, and monitoring government policy. These developments require an introspection of governance approach in Africa. How do we provide an environment that adequately responds to the needs and aspirations of our citizenry? How do we entrench the transparency and accountability for our citizenry? We in the legislative work assiduously within our mandate to ensure good governance and development of the citizens. That this can be achieved, the Parliament of Ghana and the National Assembly work closely together. Fortunately, in Ghana, parliamentary friendship associations with sister parliaments in Africa and beyond. Force parliamentarians the opportunity to engage with their counterpart government officials and the citizens of other countries, and thereby deepen international cooperation and relations. I'm confident that our two nations will continue to engage and deepen the political and economic cooperation. We will be able to fashion out common aspirations that will propel our countries towards the path of growth and sustainable development for the generation of today and tomorrow. Once again, Your Excellency, you are welcome to Ghana, and we wish you a pleasant stay. Thank you very much.
Honorable members, let me also take the opportunity to make a few remarks in honor of the President of Angola. Your Excellency, once again, it is my honor and prime privilege to personally welcome you to this August chamber. I am pleased at this stage to personally express sincere gratitude to you on behalf of the entire House and on my part for your words of wisdom, which will undoubtedly be food for thought for us in Ghana. His commitment and dedication in tackling corruption head-on in your country, your dedication in reducing economic graft, your resilience at national reconstruction, and your laudable efforts at streamlining and simplifying administrative systems, practices, and procedures of the public sector, all towards a larger anti-corruption goal, resonate in your message. It underscores the importance of building stronger institutions for good governance, and it is a loud call for all institutions all over the world to wake up and discharge their mandates for the benefit of both the current and future generations. Your Excellency, the huge savings of over $5 billion United States dollars that your administration has made a little over 2 years ago for your great country by retrieving the ill-gotten wealth of corrupt individuals is remarkable and has really proved that tackling corruption is about vigorously pursuing corrupt officials I repeat it. It is about vigorously pursuing and sealing economic loopholes in the administration of the nation's resources. Such outcomes represent yet another major source of finance for the running of every economy. The quality of life arising out of the value for money it engenders goes a long way to ensuring sustainable development. We in the Parliament of Ghana are encouraged by this feat, and we are encouraged to continue with the pursuit of our watchdog role in all areas, to give constructive criticism to government and its agencies, and to call on them to account to the people of Ghana. Your Excellency, in conclusion, it is my conviction that our respective countries remain committed to deeper democratic ideals and working in furtherance of the prosperity of our dear countrymen and women. I want to take this opportunity once again to thank Your Excellency for coming and for sharing with us your profound words of wisdom. May you enjoy the rest of your stay in our beautiful country, and I'm sure you enjoy our Ghanaian hospitality. We thank you so much for coming. Honorable members, we shall now suspend sitting of the House just briefly to enable me, together with the leadership, to conduct His Excellency the President of the Republic of Angola out of the chamber.
powers and principalities.
There's so much fire inside me.
Tragedy struck when part of the largest hillside at the kosher rubbish dump collapsed.
It's going to be fun to see how he goes about approaching this game.
We table issues relating to the arts and entertainment for a riveting discussion, of course, without fear nor favor.
The question the presenter asked them was a dumb question. You need to speak the fact and move.
Varied views. We agree to disagree.
So I would disagree with everything you said. I think that he's a smart guy. I think what he did.
No, but I also said he's a smart guy.
Yeah.
I guess that I'm waiting for the what next. Yeah,
I don't think that we have to wait for what next.
It sometimes gets confrontational, but that's the beauty of the game.
Today you are denying funny face. It's not my brother. You are denying funny face. I don't know him. You don't know funny face. It's not my brother. You don't know funny face.
It's a package. We meet, we sit, we dialogue, we learn, we progress. My name is Benefo Huabin Abrantepa, a proud blogger, and this is my forum.